Story 1. My mother-in-law has already given $50K to a romance scam, and we just found out she tried to give another $178K recently. Posted by u/FugglesMcGee. My mother-in-law lives in Laos, a developing country in Asia. I was born there too but left when I was 10 months old. My mother-in-law had fallen victim to romance scams in the past, but only lost maybe $2,000 to $5,000. We knew she had, in the past 6 months, fallen for another romance scam but didn't think it was serious. My wife has, over the past 4 years, completely renovated her mother's house, new backyard, new additions to the house, and even left her still relatively new car for her mother. My wife also sends her mom about $700 a month for expenses, the same amount she sends to her father, and he says it's more than enough. My mother-in-law is not cash rich but has access to properties. We would then hear things like how my mother-in-law is very frugal and lives like a destitute person. She would constantly be asking my wife for advances on her allowance. Then we would hear from others that she told people we have never sent her any money at all, not even $1, in an attempt to convince them to lend her money. Then we started getting calls from village elders and family members that she is trying to pawn properties for loans, some successfully. She has no intention of paying these loans. For the papers we could get, they take the property after 6 months of missed payments. My mother-in-law thinks she will be living in the United States by the time the loans are due, and that her great lover will pay them off. She's even been able to pawn things that aren't in her name. She has pawned, in the past month, jewelry, $10,000, a 4-acre plot, $12,000, real value $50,000, scooters, $1,000, a rental advance from a business property she owns 1/6 of, $20,000, and my wife's car, $3,000, real value $15,000. The roughly $50,000 she received from the loans has already been given to the scammers. She has also attempted to sell, but was stopped by officials, another 4-acre plot, $18,000, real value $100,000, her own house in the capital, right in the central business district, $100,000, real value $500,000, and her 1/6 share of the family business property, $50,000, real value $250,000. My wife's family is not used to confrontations. I think it's actually a cultural thing. So despite everyone knowing what needs to be done, no one is leading. So I guess I am. In 3 weeks, we will be landing in Laos. I will lead an intervention, around 10 people, victim impact statements, etc. I got my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law's ex-husband to talk to the officials to make sure the second farm plot, her own house, and the family business property cannot be sold, as village officials have to sign off on it. We will pay off the car loan and then sell the car. We cannot get back the plot of land without my mother-in-law's help, as she has the loan papers. These loan people are shysters, so unless she is convinced she has been scammed, that plot is gone. If she comes to her senses, we will use the car money and add our own funds to buy back the land. We stopped sending her money last month. We now pay her utility bills directly and pay the sister-in-law to buy groceries and put them in her fridge. The issue with the house she is trying to sell is that 2 of her daughters and quite often 1 or 2 grandkids also live there. Losing the house would not just affect my mother-in-law. If you've read this far, holy moly, thank you. I need help with this intervention. I've never even done one before and need some guidance. We plan on taking her smartphone and replacing it with one of those brick Nokias. I am expecting the intervention to last 5 to 6 hours. I'm also thinking of not letting her leave the house for days or even weeks until she gets it. If she doesn't wake up and realize what's happening and pawns the house she lives in, we will not help. I will not put up $130,000 for this bat-crap crazy lady and risk my own family's financial future. So this intervention, as serious as it may get, has to work, or we will be cutting my mother-in-law completely from our life. I guess what I'm asking is, for those who have successfully gotten family members to realize they were scammed, what did it? How were you successful? What was the process like for someone this deep in? /relevant comments. Commenter. Unfortunately, it usually takes them running out of money. They want to believe what they are being told is true so badly that convincing them otherwise is almost impossible. Ops response. Yes, sad as it is, if this intervention doesn't work, we're out, my wife agrees. She's even sold my wife's jewelry and replaced it with fakes. My wife feels constantly betrayed. Commenter 2. Bit of a cultural point, if your wife was raised in Lao culture, cutting off her mother would be basically impossible for her. It's one of the gravest sins in their culture, no matter what the parent does. I don't know her or your relationship, but I would be highly skeptical about her alleged agreement to wear out. She might have agreed to make you happy, avoid conflict, and move things along, but don't count on that happening so easily in the way an American would imagine. Ops response. Yeah, you're right. If it came down to it, the kids and grandkids have places to go. She doesn't. My wife would probably get a rental and pay someone to fill it with groceries. Commenter 3. It's very likely that even if you seem to get through to her, if you pay off anything, she'll go right back and sell it again to give more to the scammer. We see this story time and again here. The intervention or ultimatum seems to work, but very quickly, they go back to the scammer. You need to make sure to protect the house so her kids have a place to live. Ops response. Here's what's more messed up, the house was actually the family home of her ex-husband's parents. They divorced, but he agreed not to split the house or have his name on the deed because he said his kids and grandchildren were living there, and he was happy they could use it. My father-in-law is a cool dude, no one blames him for leaving. Update 1 month later. I never thought there'd be a part 2, because I didn't think there would be a point, but here goes. So, the first few days we arrive in Laos, my mother-in-law is nowhere to be seen. On day 3, we get one of her friends to ask her to meet up casually. She says she can't, she's in another city for a friend's funeral. We then figure she's hiding out in her country farmhouse an hour away. So now it's harder to get a lot of people in my planned intervention. Still, 6 people pack a van, her brothers, her daughters, including my wife, and me. We head out. We park, and one of her daughters approaches the farmhouse. She calls out to her mom, and her mom answers and tells us to go away. We surround the farmhouse, and everything is locked. We keep telling her that we just want to talk but will break down the doors if she doesn't unlock them. My mother-in-law refuses to answer. There are 2 doors inside, one is boarded up and impossible to get through, the other we use a crowbar to wedge open. We get through the lock, but this woman has also used coat hangers wrapped around the doorknob and attached to something to keep us out. So now we spend 10 minutes getting through that. We go through the house, and she's locked in the bedroom. So now we start to crowbar this door. As we do so, she's screaming that we're coming to kill her. Great. We get in, and she's an absolute mess, hair all over the place, just generally unkempt. Her older brother tries to talk to her, really calm. Like good guy, being nice, calm. He gets a punch from her. She's also a heavy-set woman, probably hurt a little, even if she's elderly. So I sit down, and I totally think I got this. Right? I've seen some screenshots of her phone that people have managed to take and was able to piece together the possible story. So I lay it out to her, a common enough romance scam. Scammer sends her something, it gets stuck at customs, she sends money, but it's still stuck. Then the story escalates to the scammer coming to visit her, then he's arrested and needs bail. Now it's her fault, and she needs to send money to bail him out. It's okay though, when he's out, he will repay whatever cost she incurred, and they'll fly away to another country and live happily ever after. I spend 3 hours on logic and reason, like why can't this guy call his embassy if he's stuck? She doesn't say a word but does look at me when I talk. Finally, at hour 5, as everyone is tired and giving up, I give her a hug, and she absolutely breaks. She starts crying, telling us she believes us. Everyone hugs each other, which does not happen in this country. People are crying. I'm like, yeah, I got this. She wants to spend another night at the farm though. I get that, she's lost someone. This lover that no longer exists and who never loved her. Needs to grieve. I ask for her phone, but she doesn't want to give it that night, she will give it tomorrow, but promises not to contact the scammers. Everyone leaves in good spirits. People seem happy, and dinner is had. The next day, my mother-in-law returns. I see her for maybe 5 minutes, everyone seems good. I decide to go the route of starting on the family recovery part, then a few days later go for the financial part. We are staying in a hotel, not with my mother-in-law. So the next day, a small family dinner is had, people are happy to have their mother back. 2 days later, a bigger family dinner, my mother-in-law seems happy, she agrees to talk about the financial part the next day. This whole time, I did not get that phone back from her, I was so focused on getting the family part back. Mistake. At the table sit myself, my mother-in-law, and her daughters. I start with a simple, you do still believe us and not this scammer Kevin, right? She replies with, I don't know what you're talking about. There was never a Kevin. So yep, she's still talking to the scammer. Now everyone is pissed. One of her daughters throws photocopied text conversations between her and the scammer while yelling at her mom. Oh yes, that Kevin. I can't believe this crap is happening. I try to keep everyone calm, but everyone is upset. What's crazy is that she seems to realize it's a scam but at the same time still believes the scammer. We ask for property titles, so she can't pawn or sell things and we can recover some things, but she only gives us partial actual documents or photocopies. Everyone is more pissed. She keeps denying having any loan papers, that the loan sharks kept them all. We don't believe it. She takes out her phone and starts to go through it to find one of her loan contacts. My wife decides this is it and lunges at her mother for the phone. My wife may be slim, but she's active at the gym, and of course, I naturally have to go at it too. So now 3 people are wrestling over the phone, which we do manage to take. My wife quickly goes over conversations from the scammer and loan sharks. My wife reads aloud the messages and confirms that it was the same scam story that we thought. At this point, everyone seems calm. My mother-in-law seems resigned to the fact that we now have her phone and are going through it. The rest of the family is bewildered at how obviously fake the lies and images that the scammer sent to her were though, but no one is yelling at her. The scammer is apparently an American, head of medicine at some Boston hospital. Of course. Why wouldn't a 40-something head of medicine want my elderly, nearly obese mother-in-law? At one point, my wife sees that my mother-in-law asked the scammer why he didn't go to the embassy for help. The scammer said that there was no embassy from his country where he was being held. We question my mother-in-law, but she's not really talking much, but finally says he's in Germany. Everyone is still calm though. I show my mother-in-law that there is a US embassy in Germany, a half-dozen consulates, dozens of offices. She replied that she's going to have to let Kevin know about these options that he didn't know about. She still believes this dude. I show her that the plane tickets they sent to show he had a jet-set life didn't exist. The images were so ridiculously fake that anyone could Google and see why. A non-stop ticket from Kazakhstan to Tennessee on UA 134. Everyone is still trying to convince her and remain calm. My wife scrolls to the loan sharks. Financially, we are mostly where we think we are, except she has managed to pawn the country farmhouse. We didn't think she could because her ex-husband is on the title, and he did not agree to that. People are furious, and I am tired of holding them back. They verbally lay it on her. We put down on paper what the debt is, and I don't think she flinched. We did when we totaled it, $70,000 for properties and items worth $350,000. We try for 2 hours to talk sense into her, but she's still fully committed to believing the scammers. There is just one property left not pawned, the one we're currently in, the one that only has her name, but is actually her ex-husband's childhood house. Everyone leaves frustrated. My wife and I tell her that she will never see us again. She asks for her phone back. Our reply wasn't very nice. My wife worries her mother is going to commit suicide. She doesn't. Next day, we meet up with my father-in-law, whom I always thought was a stand-up guy. Everyone thought he would be upset, but he was just disappointed. He goes on to explain that he removed his name from the house title in the capital because he didn't want his children or grandchildren to think he would try to kick them out in any way, as his ex-wife had repeatedly said it was something he would do. He was in tears and said he just wanted good things for his family. We agree to meet up again the next day to start a plan to get the police to arrest my mother-in-law for selling the farm property that my father-in-law did have his name on the title. My wife goes through the phone, and we get an even clearer picture. Turns out those loan shysters weren't actually nearly as bad as we thought, even the one who accepted a property as collateral knowing my father-in-law wasn't involved. There were two main loaners. Each loan to them started typical enough for the two properties, but then my mother-in-law started asking to see if they would take a loan for the house in the capital. Both said no, stated that they didn't want any of the properties, they just wanted the interest from the loans. They started questioning if she was being scammed, telling her to talk to her family. She kept telling them she was fine. They kept insisting she get her family involved. She said her family was why she didn't have anything and needed the loans. We called the loan people. They seem amicable and actually concerned for my mother-in-law. One only wanted the principal back, the other seemed willing to accept the principal and a month's interest instead of everything that's accrued. My wife asks me if I remember the jewelry gifts we got for our wedding. I replied that I didn't until she mentioned it now. Good, then you won't miss them. The next day, my wife plans to pay the loan to get her car back. There's already a buyer. The sale of the car and the jewelry is enough to cover not everything, but at least the two farm properties. I guess I shouldn't be annoyed at losing the jewelry, definitely annoyed at my mother-in-law though. Sure enough, midday, we get a text message from the scammer on my mother-in-law's phone, which we have, asking why he's getting texts from another number claiming to be my mother-in-law, and that it's the new number to call. We throw a few curveballs at the scammer, but yep, my mother-in-law had a backup phone, which explains why she wasn't wrestling us back for the phone, and is re-talking to the scammers. Yay! 2 hours after this, my sister-in-law puts her phone up to show me and my wife a live scene from the security cameras at the house. So, a lot of people in this country still believe in animism and spirits, etc. The conversation goes like this. Sister-in-law, she's opening up all the windows in the house. Wife, that nasty beach. Yep, she's got them all opened. She's got some incense now. She's lighting them outside the house and waving them. Oh, F her. I am so out of her life. What kind of mother does that? Me, what's going on? She just wished all the evil in the world to come to you and your wife. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for reading my rant. Well, we're here for another week. Let's see what crazy crap happens now. Hoping my mother-in-law does get arrested, I think it's likely, but maybe not before we leave. If you guys actually read this all the way through, and the next part is interesting, I'll put it up. /relevant comments. Commenter. The picture you paint is of a person who is not mentally well. She needs medical intervention. Ops response. That is the picture we get as well. I have suggested this to the family before. They declined it. Mental health treatment is non-existent here. The one place that would take her is for drug rehab, and it's pretty grim. Commenter 2. I would not bail her out of her loans with your money, she'll just do it again with the same scammer or a different one. I would move on with your life and stay out of hers. Ops response. The deed for the farm, which also has my father-in-law on it, will be transferred entirely to him. Apparently, this can be done without my mother-in-law's consent as long as the officials agree, and it looks like they will. The other farm, which is entirely in my mother-in-law's name, will hopefully be transferred to my wife eventually, as she is the one who actually paid for it. However, we need my mother-in-law to agree. It seems she won't agree anytime soon. Fortunately, we get to keep the title from the lender after the debt is paid, so she won't be able to pawn anything without it. As for the house in the capital, my father-in-law's childhood home, he and the entire family will be meeting with officials to have the title changed to be solely under his name. The plan is to have my mother-in-law arrested and put away until she regains her senses. I can't believe it's come to that, but I don't see any other way to bring her back to reason. Apparently, she's been throwing garbage all over the house, unplugging the laundry machine if someone is using it, and generally making the lives of her daughters who are still there miserable. The whole time, she's been screaming at whoever is around that soon she will have everything, and we will see she's right. I had previously told the daughters to go easy on their mom, but today I told them to go at it if they want. These are not defenseless women, they've just been holding back. It seems she's going to be put away one way or another. Second update 1.5 months later. This update isn't as exciting as the second update, where we were breaking down doors with crowbars and my mother-in-law was putting a hex on us, but that's probably a good thing. I pushed for getting her arrested, but apparently in Laos, it's not that simple. You have to go to the village elder, they have to get the village police involved, and then an actual arrest can be made. I'm not sure if it really is this complicated or if the family just didn't have the appetite for it. Of all the things she had pawned, we were interested in resolving 4 items that were pawned or suspected to be: my wife's car, 2 farm plots, and the house in the capital. We paid $3,000 to get the car back, which included the loan and interest. We then sold the car. My wife also sold the wedding jewelry we received many years ago. This, together with the proceeds from the car, was enough for us to pay back the loan and interest for the 2 farm plots. The papers were all signed in front of village officials. We had no idea where the deed to the house in the capital was. It turns out the loan people had the deed all along. My mother-in-law was so desperate for money that she offered to take $5,000 for a house worth $500,000 USD. The loaner declined but held onto the deed, which was eventually given back to us. The laws in Laos don't make any sense to me, and I'm not sure how we were able to do the things we did afterward. The first farm plot is 6 acres and co-owned by my mother-in-law and her ex-husband. My mother-in-law managed to pawn the property without her ex-husband knowing. So now we are going by the official judgment from their divorce. 1.5 acres will be given to my mother-in-law, but the title will be given to one of her daughters to hold. The second farm plot is 5 acres. It was 100% in my mother-in-law's name but was paid for by my wife years ago. The title will now be transferred to my wife. As for the house in the capital, it's 100% in my mother-in-law's name, even though it was my father-in-law's childhood home. This was because she had repeatedly accused him of, in the future, selling the house and leaving the grandkids with no place to go. Funny how it was actually the opposite. We're working on putting my father-in-law back on the title, while one of my wife's sisters holds onto the title. My wife used to give her mother a $500 to $600 monthly stipend but stopped a few months ago. She has told her sisters that she will still help pay for utilities and put groceries in her mother's fridge. My wife's niece and nephews also use the house. We have to pay utilities directly now, as the lights were just turned off recently because my mother-in-law didn't pay utilities for 4 months. However, we have cut off all contact with my mother-in-law. She won't see our son again either, even though she has numerous photos of him in her house. We knew she had promised the scammers to get him money in April, so we tried to get ahead of that. She traveled to Thailand to ask some relatives for money, but we told them ahead of time not to give her anything. In the end, she begged them for bags of rice to take home, which they gave. She also recently went to visit her son to ask him for money. He wasn't home, so she asked for $5 from her daughter-in-law's mother. She's going to several friends, asking for financial help, telling them that her kids abandoned her. So now we have to call those people and tell them that my mother-in-law has been scammed, but we still put food in the fridge. My mother-in-law still believes the scammers. She wants so desperately to believe she didn't give the scammers our final tally of $70,000. She really wants to believe her lover is real. She has nothing left to pawn now since we have all the documents. I can only hope that within 6 months the scammers will stop talking to her once they realize she has nothing left, and maybe she will come to her senses. It's been exhausting, but I'm glad we were able to get all 3 property titles back so at least my mother-in-law and the niece and nephews don't end up on the street. I was born in Laos too, but left when I wasn't even 1 year old, so I get the culture. We had planned a 5-week trip but spent almost 4 weeks cleaning up this scam mess. The whole point of the trip, prior to realizing my mother-in-law was being scammed, was to do a baby blessing ceremony, to be attended by hundreds of people. It's a very wholesome, positive event, something my wife had been looking forward to for a year. We didn't do it since there was so much bad energy. It wasn't until we flew to Bangkok for a few days that we felt like we were on vacation. My wife used to fly back to Laos once a year, sometimes twice. She's made it very clear she won't be going back for a while. /relevant comments. Commenter. Sadly, I can relate. With my mother, it was Keanu Reeves on Instagram. She gave him all her social security and banking information and hid it from us for months before we found out that the bank and the IRS were investigating her for money laundering. He got roughly $10,000 from a 72-year-old woman on disability. We control her finances now, but she's still in denial. Up until a couple of months ago, she was still talking to him, but now he's ghosted her since she can't give him any more money. It's so frustrating and enraging to have to deal with things like this. Commenter 2. Reminds me of that woman who fell in love with that AI Brad Pitt. It's just sad. Commenter 3. The best part of the story is the loan sharks turning out not to be loan sharks at all, but actually concerned for the mother-in-law. Story 2. My girlfriend told me I'm a terrible person for not being able to predict traffic to be able to feed her sooner and threw my stuff out in anger. Now I'm predicting a better life without her. Posted by you/crazygirlissues. So this feels crazy to me even asking this, but I just need some kind of confirmation or perspective I'm not seeing. I, 30M, live with my girlfriend, 29F. Every Friday is pizza night. We either order some Domino's or I pick up Papa Murphy's. She loves pizza night because during the week we are pretty strict with our diet and exercise, so Friday nights are pop/pizza/movie and it's a treat. I get off work at 5, she gets off at 6, so if I'm picking up the pizza, then I get it on the way home. Yesterday, it was my duty to pick up the pizza. I stayed after work for another 40 minutes talking to my brother about business ideas because we own our business, and it's really helpful to brainstorm after we close. I work 25 minutes from the house, she works 20 minutes from the house. I ordered the pizza from Papa Murphy's. You have to bake it yourself at home for 15 minutes, at 5, and plan to leave work at 5:40 with the intent of getting the pizza and being home in time to throw it in the oven and have it be done within 5 to 10 minutes after she walked in the door. Well, I get the pizza, and there's a traffic accident on the freeway. It delays me 15 minutes. When I get home, which is about 2 minutes after she did, she is all, "I'm really disappointed that you didn't get the pizza here faster, you know how important it is," etc. I explained to her that there was a traffic accident and that I planned to be here in time to have it done. She then goes on a rant, saying I should have left right at 5 so that I would for sure get the pizza here in time and have it ready for her when she got home. Keep in mind, I've brought this pizza back basically every week for the past month, and I either have it totally ready or at least in the oven by the time she gets home. Somehow though, the times when it was just in the oven were me being late then too, and she brought that up as more evidence that I'm terrible. Anyway, I go into the bedroom to be alone so that I don't have to hear her ranting. She won't drop it though and comes in there after 5 minutes to continue bitching about her pizza and how I shouldn't be upset because she's the one that was disappointed. I tell her fine, I'm leaving for a while because I don't want to sit here and hear this after I just sat in traffic for 40 minutes getting this thing for her. She then flips out and tells me I shouldn't come back if I'm leaving, chases me out the door, and screams for me to pack my things and take them with me before I go, etc. I ignore this and tell her she is acting like a child and that it's like watching a 2-year-old have a tantrum. I come back 3 hours later and she has a suitcase and a bag of clothes thrown out in the driveway. No texts or calls, just that. I slept at my office, and now I'm not really sure what to do here. Am I missing something here where I wasn't being sensitive? Do I just wait for an apology, and then if it isn't forthcoming, I should walk? It seems like insanity to me, but maybe I'm missing something? /relevant comments. Commenter. This seems like an extreme overreaction on her part. I don't mean to be a jerk for asking this, but is there any part of the story you may have left out? Or is this a typical reaction from her when things don't go exactly as she wants them to? Because if so, that's not cool at all. Ops response. This is literally the entire story. Sometimes it's like talking to a different person. One person is kind and loving, but then she can flip this switch where she is unable to be reasoned with and goes absolutely batcrap crazy. It happens when she is frustrated too. An example, also with pizza, a few months ago, I was dropping my car off to get a stereo installed. I needed her to pick me up there after she was done with work on Friday because I had to leave it there for a few hours. Well, she couldn't find the place and got a little lost, so she called me. She couldn't use her GPS because she had used up all her data on a prepaid plan. I tried to help her with my Google Maps and figured out where she was really quickly, like 2 minutes from the place. I told her to go north and take the first right she could. Well, she didn't know compass directions where she was, so this frustrated her and she started screaming into the phone about how this was pizza night and how maybe I could just call her once the car was ready and she'd pick me up then. I told her that would be several hours and that it didn't make any sense, I needed food, etc. So she says, fine, I'll try to find you. 30 seconds later, she finds me. She later apologized for her behavior, but it was still shocking at the time. Now I guess I'm starting to realize this is normal for her whenever she is at all stressed. Op responding to a comment asking about his girlfriend's past and behavior. You are pretty insightful. She has abandonment issues because her dad left, and her mom was legitimately insane, regularly beat her, was addicted to drugs, went to prison for a few years, and she had to be raised by her grandma, and she ended up emancipating herself at 16. Yes, minor changes in routine very much upset her. No reason to distrust me, I've never cheated. She has. Op responding to a comment suggesting his girlfriend has BPD. Wow, I just read the Wikipedia entry on this disorder. It almost perfectly describes so many things she does. Commenter 2. Borderline personality disorder is not very resistant to treatment. Dialectical behavior therapy works wonders. Once a patient can recognize their own emotions, they can learn to cope with them properly. The disorder becomes manageable from there. The patient is going to have to be in a place where they're ready to get help and challenge their own beliefs, but that's the same with any mental illness ever. The op's girlfriend doesn't sound like she's there, but that doesn't mean she'll never be there, nor should she be told she never will be. You seem to understand the disorder. You understand why telling someone with borderline personality disorder that they're untreatable is detrimental, right? We should be telling them that they aren't broken and hopeless. That said, op, her childhood plus what you wrote in the comments also struck me as borderline. She believes she is horrible, that she doesn't deserve love, that everyone abandons her. She doesn't know how to feel good about herself because she was never taught how. It's absolutely not your responsibility to teach her that, or even to help her through any of this. You're not married, it's only been 2 years. She will need to learn one way or another that she is hurting herself and everyone around her with her behavior. She will need to decide she needs help. Just try to keep in mind that she's suffering too, when you leave her. Don't be too cruel. Op's response. She believes she is horrible, that she doesn't deserve love, that everyone abandons her. She has used exactly those words to describe how she feels about herself. She feels an emptiness inside that she thought was because of our relationship and me not making her feel loved enough, so she cheated, but it didn't help her. After the cheating, I tried to get her to see a counselor, but she refused in a passive-aggressive way, promising to go but never making the appointment and becoming angry when I pressed her on it after a month of nothing. I guess I just need to let her go and hope that she gets treatment for herself at some point, but her opinion of counselors is that they are useless and never help. Op adds an edit to their post. So I finally texted her this afternoon, and she said she was pissed because I ignored her / was acting cold after she beached at me when I went into the bedroom to defuse the situation. I was there for under 5 minutes before she came in to continue fighting about it. When I left, she said, I told you that if you left, you could never come back. You still left. Now she says it's up to me if I want to still be together. I told her that me being required to be in her presence while she rants at me is abuse. I can leave if I want to. In fact, the week prior, she specifically told me I should leave for a little while when she starts acting crazy because she ends up saying things she doesn't mean. So I literally followed her advice this time, and now she says I'm basically required to stay at her side while she rages at me. I feel like it's time to move on because I know she won't get help for this, and I know it's just going to keep happening. It's just so hard because I do still love her, and if she would just be willing to get help, I would have hope. Update 2 days later. After some more texting, she admitted that she owed me an apology and asked me to come back and talk. As soon as I walked in, she had a sheepish look, apologized, and said she knows something is wrong with her but isn't sure what it is, and really doesn't want to have to take medication. That's when I brought up the fact that we both already knew her sister has a very severe case of borderline personality disorder. Her sister is very intelligent, yet often homeless, has been married 5+ times at 35 years old, thinks no one loves her, and believes everyone persecutes her for her political views, etc. I never thought my girlfriend had this disorder, though, because her sister was so severe in comparison that I never really stopped and paid attention to a lot of the things she does that still hit a lot of the major criteria. Major fears of abandonment, from childhood, stormy relationships with men, few friends, viewing me as perfect when she's happy and terrible when she's upset, extreme sensitivity to criticism, past issues with bulimia, crazy/paranoid, i.e., unfounded, no evidence, thoughts about what I think of her when she is upset, and a cycle of shame/guilt about the things she does to avoid emotional pain and dealing with the consequences of her actions. Anyway, she was curious enough about it to go and look this up on the computer, take a basic psych test to see if it's possible. She scored in the likely range, even with some answers that I thought were denying reality, I kept quiet while she took it, though, which would have scored her higher. After that, she looked into what treatment was available. I know she absolutely does not like the idea of counseling, so I suggested books, and she agreed to at least start with that. So I feel like this is a positive step forward, where I was feeling hopeless before. She realizes she has a problem, and now I'm just anxious about whether she will take the book seriously and really work on understanding why she acts this way sometimes. 95% of the time I'm with her is wonderful and she is amazing, but this 5%, when she cannot handle stress or minor issues and they turn into huge blow-ups, is very difficult. One of her suggestions on what would make her feel better when she does this is if I pretended to be concerned, even if it is a trivial issue. She said it doesn't even matter if I have to grit my teeth and lie to her, it will make her feel better than when I walk away. I don't think she realized it when she said it, but we do the same thing to her sister when her sister is saying crazy stuff too. Overall, I'm much more hopeful now, but at the same time realistic that she has thus far not really done anything to help herself. Reading books could help, but not in the same way a counselor could, I think. I'm hoping that if she reads these books and realizes a lot of it rings true for her, maybe she will be more open to counseling. Quick edit, I know a lot of you said it wasn't about the pizza. In a way, you were right, in a way, not. She was much more upset by the fact that I wanted to go in my room rather than stay and listen to her ranting about that. Someone with BPD is apparently much more short-fused when you are not giving them attention when they need it, so a minor issue about pizza turns into crazed you don't love me, you don't care about me ramblings. It really was as simple as the pizza being late, and my avoidance reaction set off her insanity. /relevant comments. Commenter. You too shouldn't pursue treatment from books based on a personality disorder that you've armchair diagnosed. This book path won't actually help. She needs to work with a pro, and you need to make it an ultimatum. You can't stay with her as she is, untreated. If you do, expect more of the same. And remember, if you do care about her happiness, you must know that the book path won't get her there. She needs the help of professionals, and you would be wrong to accept anything less. Second update 1 month 2 weeks later. Well, I just couldn't make it work with her anymore. I didn't want to talk about it in the original post, but she had cheated on me multiple times already, and I caught her doing more stuff. She told me she was just seeing her ex once in a while as a friend, but I caught texts she had sent him where he was mad that she wasn't getting sexual with him enough, and that she only saw him once every couple of weeks, so she must be seeing another guy, and accusing her of lying about whether she is single or not. She replied to him saying she is single and wasn't looking for other guys, etc., but that she found out he was on a dating site and looking for other girls, so she was mad about that. That, combined with other things that have just always been problems, has led me to the realization that I will never be able to do enough for her to be happy, and that there is no version of reality where I can trust her enough to get married and have kids, or where I can go on a weekend trip and not worry that she's out with another guy while I'm gone. I told her last night that we need some time apart, and she predictably flew into a rage and told me to get the F out and said if I didn't take all of my stuff, she would throw it away. I told her if she wanted to be a baby about it and do that, she could, but I wasn't going to pack up the entire house full of my stuff while she is raging at me, so I took my necessities and left. She apologized today and said she wouldn't throw out my stuff, but I'm currently in a motel and looking for an apartment tomorrow. I think my mental state has been warped pretty badly by this relationship, and I'm looking forward to resetting. I haven't pursued my hobbies or tried to make friends in a long time because every spare moment was spent with her and trying to make sure she didn't feel like I wasn't giving her enough attention. I would get anxious if I was running late coming home from work because I was worried she would be really upset. Most of all, I just felt like I was dealing with someone who doesn't think about things like I do and doesn't have the sense of morality that I do. I'll never really know if it was BPD because she refused to go to counseling, and nothing I could do or say would make her go. I hope someday she is happy, but I fear she is in for a lot of short-term relationships where guys are initially thrilled to be with her, but then, when they aren't perfect in some way, that's when the ship will hit the rocks again, and there's no recovery from it because she takes no responsibility for repairing the damage she causes and only builds up resentment that she isn't treated like a princess regardless of how she treats you. /relevant comments. Commenter. I'm sad you put up with her abuse for so long. In the end, it doesn't matter if she is BPD. She treats you horribly, and it's intolerable. She won't try to fix it. If I were you, I'd sneak your things out and leave her without fully informing her up front because she'll probably destroy your property. She's out of control. Good luck in the future, and I'm glad you escaped her. Ops response. It sounds worse than it is when I only talk about the bad. She was very loving and kind 95% of the time, but the 5% was pretty bad, and the things she did behind my back make me question what percent of the time she was faking it. Some of the affection had to be faked, or else there is a disconnect in her mind between her time with me and her time alone and or with other guys. Commenter. I don't think so. Her bad side was pretty horrible. Pretending to be single, cheating on you, etc. I can understand having heated arguments, but the constant cheating combined with her outbursts? And I'm aware of what BPD is. When you are in their glow, you can do no wrong and you're the most amazing person on the planet. When you're on their bad side, it's awful. You need to have higher standards for yourself. I'm pretty sure she put you through some abuse, and I'm not just talking about the pizza incident. I could even see working through the BPD, but the deception, what did you two actually share? You'll never know because she's a liar. Ops response. You are absolutely right. What I meant is that it felt good for the majority of the time when she wasn't acting crazy. The things she was doing behind my back, though. Yes, really awful, and that was going on nearly the entire relationship, so the full extent of the terribleness was shielded from me while I basked in her glow, as you put it. It's funny that you said she would say I'm the most amazing person on the planet 1 second, then the biggest scumbag who ever lived when I'm on her bad side. Definitely true. I will also never really know how much we shared because when I look back on some of the great times we had together, I can't really know whether she was having a great time with me, or counting down the minutes until we got home so that she could make plans with her other boyfriend. I can even remember one weekend we spent in her hometown doing a lot of fun things. I later found out she was texting her ex about how badly she wanted to see him the entire time we were together. Every time after that, when she mentioned how great that trip was, it felt like a layer of slime coated the whole memory. Op adds an edit to their post. I am reading all of your replies, so even if I don't respond, I really do appreciate the kind words and constructive opinions. I'm actually having a bit of a laugh right now because the more I read and write about the crap that went on, I realize what a huge drain on my mental energy this has been. I own a business, and part of what makes or breaks an entrepreneur is coming up with good ideas that help the business grow. My mind has been in a fog for so long that I haven't put as much energy into that as I should have, but luckily for me, and maybe this is a sign if there is a higher power, my salary basically went from $50K to $250K in the past couple of weeks because of a good idea that worked well. So I've got that to help cheer me up. Story 3. I caught my husband cheating on me with his ex-wife on our son's birthday, and now my friends are telling me not to blow up our family over a mistake he made while he was vulnerable. Posted by you/majestic_designer781. I'm honestly a mess and I don't know what to do, so any advice would be appreciated. I, 27M, and my husband, 37M, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37F, whom he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7M, who was adopted after we got married and whom I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband, Peter, fake name, is bisexual. I have no problem with it, and I had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison, also a fake name. I did have a problem with his family, as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were in his family's town because it was my son Jack's, fake name, birthday, and we wanted to spend it as a family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Allison, so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Allison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment, but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I was also in shock and refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Allison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present and that it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet, so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend, and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park, and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happily ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back, and all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable and Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need advice from people who don't know my husband or me personally. Please, any advice is helpful. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Teach your son that his future partners have to respect him in their relationship by not being cheating bastards. Ops response. I do want to teach him this stuff, but he's too young, and I'm just scared that he'll get a bad view of relationships if he sees his parents divorce. Commenter 2. You should leave. I know it won't be easy, but if you stay, think of it as showing Jack that it's okay for your husband or wife to treat you badly. If you want him to know about happily ever after, you need to show him that it's okay not to settle and that you work hard for your goals, no matter what they are, and work towards them with kindness, honesty, and integrity. Kids are far more impressionable than we give them credit for, and as someone who has known many families where the person being hurt hasn't walked away, that hurt spreads until it damages everyone. Relating to just yourself here, there is a huge safety factor. Staying with a cheater puts you in danger because you don't know everyone they're sleeping with and, more importantly, what STIs they may be carrying. So think about your son, and your health, and leave. Emotionally, if you're surrounded by people telling you to forgive and forget, those people are not safe to be around, as you have no clue if they've been hiding this from you for a while either. Update 1 day later. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your advice, and I want to explain some things before the actual update. But, thank you for opening my eyes about my situation. Peter and Allison didn't notice me when I saw them. There was very loud music downstairs, and they weren't facing the door. I didn't stop them because I was in shock, I just stood there for a moment, and I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much on autopilot. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He did try to follow me, but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents, and Allison left. We met when I was 20 and he was 30. We started as friends, and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men, and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked things, and I did answer some comments, though not all. Now on to the update. I did as some of you suggested and took some tests to rule out any STIs or STDs. The results are coming back in a few days, and I will take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend, and I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house a few minutes after I texted him. He asked about Jack, and I told him where he was. Then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes, and he followed soon after. I asked some simple questions: when? Why? How many times? Among others, and this is what I could gather from all the things he said. It happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her, they both got drunk, he was feeling lonely as I had been paying more attention to Jack since we adopted him, and they slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit, and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her, and I believe him, but it doesn't negate the fact of what he did. After talking for a while, I told him that I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him that I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again, and I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him that we have to think about Jack and his well-being, that we could stay friends and co-parent him. He got mad, really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, that he's the one who's getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I had never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying and told them that if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After that little episode, I was scared that Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend Thomas and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to go on with the divorce. /relevant comments. Commenter. I can't believe that he is taking no accountability for his actions and blaming your completely innocent son. Every time you start missing your soon-to-be ex, I want you to please remember what he said about your son. It will be painful, but it will strengthen your heart and mind to move on from that toxic man. You are definitely not the jerk. Keep striving for a healthy, happy new relationship for you and your son. Second update 11 days later. Hi again. Sorry for taking so long to update, but it's been a chaotic week and I'm pretty shaken up. I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me, and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack, like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of things, but I'll try to write the important ones. He said that he missed when it was just us, that I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted Jack, that I wasn't his anymore. He said that he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues when we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time, I was weak and tired, so he would take care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me, and I didn't get better until a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence is what he missed? Yesterday, he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security, and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up at our house. I took a few weeks off work to be with Jack, although he's taking this better than I am. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. /relevant comments. Commenter. The unexplained illnesses once you were married are a great concern. Were you chronically ill before you were married to him? If not, It may be possible that he did something to cause your illnesses, thus making you more dependent on him. Commenter 2. We made vows to stay together. Oh wow. It's so optimistic of him to assume that cheating doesn't change anything. So these vows, in his mind, still stand, despite the fact that he cheated on you in his parents' home. More than once. I got so angry on your behalf. Please, prioritize safety above all else. I don't know if you've ever contacted Peter's family, but I think you should. They are partly responsible for what happened, and they should take action for your sons and your sake. Also, I think Peter has some mental health issues. What I've read does not come from a healthy mind. Third update 1 month 2 weeks later. Hi guys, this is the final update for anyone who is interested. I'm only doing this update to give it some closure and because some people messaged me to ask for it. So here it is. This has been a really difficult time, but I'm almost divorced, I have primary custody of Jack, and I've got a restraining order against Peter and Allison. I'll try to be quick, but a lot happened. So, after I made the post, Peter kept calling and stalking me. I didn't know what to do until I started packing Peter's stuff and found a box of pictures of me from before we met, like 3 or 4 years before we met, while he was still married to Allison. I never knew why they got divorced, he just said it was too painful to talk about, so I never asked. But I swallowed my anger and sent Allison a message to ask her about the pictures, and she told me they got divorced because she saw him stalking my Facebook several times and found the same box I did. He called it an innocent crush and curiosity, but she thought he was cheating on her, and they got divorced. A year later, he met me, but Allison always thought I was the side piece. I read a few comments saying that maybe I was sick because he was making me sick. I don't know if that's possible, I don't really know. I mean, the illnesses were bad enough to make me stay in bed, like having a bad cold, but I don't know. I stopped digging. After I found the pictures, I confronted Peter when Jack wasn't in the house, and he seemed, I don't know, proud? He kept smiling and saying that all he did was for us, that it was love at first sight, and we were destined, he was just making sure it happened. Apparently, we had met before we became friends. I remember meeting him at a party through some friends, but we had met before, as teenagers. He and I lived in nearby towns, and my school made some trips to the surrounding towns, and we met on one of those trips. We were something like friends, but only for a summer because he went to college and I soon forgot about him. But he found my Facebook, and the story continued. I was horrified, to say the least. He tried to console me and tell me that it was fine, that he did it out of love, and that if only we hadn't adopted Jack, everything would be fine. I was bawling my eyes out, my entire marriage was a lie. He said that he only slept with Allison because he knew it would get my attention and that we didn't have to go through with the divorce, that I knew he loved me and that was it. He promised to be a better dad for Jack if I made more time for him. He told me to quit my job because he earned enough to take care of all of us, and that would give me more time with him. I was in shock, and then he hugged me, calming me down. I admit that for a moment, I allowed him to hold me, I allowed myself to consider his proposal, but I kept thinking about his lies. It wasn't about the cheating, it was the stalking, the lies, the obsession. It creeped me out, so I tried to pull away and tell him I'd go through with the divorce. He refused. He hugged me tighter and screamed that I needed him, that he could protect me, take care of me, save me, that I was his husband and only his. I was terrified. I slapped him and pulled away, yelling at him to get out of my house. He didn't. He just kept screaming and holding on to me until a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police. I filed a restraining order and have been taking care of Jack since. During the divorce proceedings, Peter asked for 50-50 custody, which surprised me because, in all this time, he hasn't cared about seeing Jack. But I later found out that it was only because he would get to see me and talk to me regularly. He's been contesting every single thing about the divorce, trying to make it last longer than it has, and it's been working. He offered to give me child support even though we have 50-50 custody, he allowed me to keep the house, and other stuff. So, that's what's been going on in my life. The only happy thing that happened was Halloween. Jack insisted on dressing up as Spider-Man and me dressing up as Tony Stark, so we did, and I took him trick-or-treating. It was the most adorable sight ever, and I knew I made the right choice with him and Peter. I'm sorry for such a long post, but this will probably be the last update. Thank you so much for the advice and for hearing me rant. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. You're 27. He's 37. But he has pictures of you from before he left for college? So he was 18 and you were 8? He was 20 and you were 10? Make it make sense, because it sure looks like he met you when you were a literal child, stalked you until you were an adult, and started dating you at 21. Ops response. He had pictures from before I thought we met, when I was 20. He was already in college, he was just spending the summer in his hometown. We met in the summer when I was about 14. Commenter 2. So again, you were 14 and friends with a 24-year-old? Sorry, but this just doesn't seem to add up. Ops response. We weren't best friends, but we talked a few times, and I remember talking through Facebook once or twice. That's why I said we were kind of friends. Commenter. He saw you at 14, hid secret pictures of you from his wife during the time you were finishing high school and starting out in life, got divorced once you were an adult because his wife found secret photos her husband had of a child, and then he started dating you when you were 21. It wasn't an accident any of the times you two just bumped into each other. He set you up and exploited you. He started when you were 14. No wonder people are so concerned that, as soon as you started dating him, you frequently became so ill that you couldn't get out of bed, and he got to take care of you. Fourth update 5 months 2 weeks later. I know I said that my last update would be the final one, but I'm so very confused right now. So, we're finishing with the divorce proceedings, but Peter's attitude has done a 180 degrees, and I don't know if I'm crazy or what. The last time I posted here, Peter was basically saying that our son was the reason for our divorce and that he only wanted custody of him to see me. Well, now he's being father of the year. A friend of mine, Dean, is handling the drop-offs and pickups of Jack so that I don't see Peter. At first, he was mad and called me because he thought Dean and I were dating, then he didn't care. Now, I thought that he would treat Jack badly, and I kept a very close eye on him, asked him questions about his father, how everything was going, etc. Jack told me that he's been acting like the perfect dad, he's nice, he plays with him, helps him, and is completely different from before. I have talked to Peter, and he told me he was going to therapy, which I'm happy about, and he has messaged me, apologized, and told me that we should try couples therapy. I declined, and he hasn't asked again, but he wants us to meet up at his house tomorrow to discuss everything that happened. He said it was part of his therapy. I haven't gone to therapy, I can't afford it right now, but Jack is. I can't say I don't miss Peter, because he was a great partner and husband before everything went down, but I don't trust him after all that happened. So, I don't know what to say to him tomorrow or how to express how I feel about it. Is it wrong to miss him? I mean, this whole thing happened because he slept with someone else, and I know that he hasn't seen Allison and won't be seeing her again because she's also done. Should I just move past it? Jack is also saying that he misses the three of us together, he's cried to me about it more times than I can count and asks why I can't forgive his dad. What the hell am I supposed to do? To feel? It's a short update. I guess that I'm just trying to vent without judgment from the people I know and give an update to those who asked for it. Thanks again for all the support I received in my other posts. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. It's love bombing. He knows your child is your priority, and that's what he's targeting. My ex cheated and was a diagnosed sociopath/sex addict. To prove he'd changed, he joined Sex Addicts Anonymous to show he had changed, even sent me a photo of his 1-month chip. I told him I'd never take him back regardless. So he never went back again and told me that he wished he'd given me an STD, I was pregnant, so that I'd have an effed up kid and no one would ever want me. Love bombing isn't just sending gifts, it's knowing someone so well that you can target them to get what you want. Commenter 2. I would be very careful right now. He's acting like father of the year, which is out of character for him. He knows what you value, and it's Jack. So he's doing everything to win you back by being the best dad to Jack. He even has Jack asking you why you can't forgive his father. I would be wary that he's coaching Jack in small ways to try to win you back. This is either genuine or a master plan. The way he acted before, about you being his, makes me think it may not be genuine. I would stay the course you're currently on and just monitor the situation, because the last thing you want to do is cave only to realize it was all fake. He even told you before that he cheated because you weren't paying enough attention to him, so what happens if he feels like that again? Green light for him to sleep with someone else? I wish you all the best. Commenter 3. It would be idiotic to even see him in private, let alone contemplate getting back together with him. Actually doing that would be insane. All I know is that my father had a friend like your ex, and he started being perfect for his ex-wife until she agreed to let him see the kids, then he killed 2 of them and himself to get back at her for leaving. This isn't an epic love story, this is a Stephen King horror story in the making. 5th update 9 days later. Okay, I'm going to clear up a few things before I give you the actual update. I don't answer comments, I prefer to answer every question here instead of answering the same question separately. 1. I should have explained it better, but my restriction order was a temporary one, only for 30 days. 2. Peter was a very good husband. I read that he was abusive throughout our relationship, he wasn't. And he was a good dad to Jack. Everything went to hell when I caught him cheating. 3. What Jack was saying wasn't told by Peter. I talked to him and made sure, he just has been missing our life before. 4. Peter would never touch Jack like some of you suggested. My case may make it seem like he could, but he never even touched me or groomed me. I did talk to Jack, just to make sure, and he reassured me nothing happened. Now, on to the update. I did meet with Peter. Most of you told me not to go to his apartment, so I told him to meet at a park, take a walk, or something. When I saw him, he was different. He looked very depressed, and he hugged me when he saw me. He wouldn't stop apologizing for what happened. We started talking and walking. He didn't justify what he said or did, but he did say he regrets it. He said that he misses me and misses being together. I asked about Allison, and he told me that he cut her and his parents out, which I believe he did. Then I asked about what he said about Jack. He basically said that he resented Jack for a long time because my attention wasn't on him anymore, and it was selfish, but he was too used to being the center of my world. So when it suddenly changed, he couldn't take it. He told me he loves Jack, but he maintains that if giving him up meant having me back, he would do it in a heartbeat. We talked for hours while Jack was with my friend. I cried a lot. There were things I decided not to ask, like if he was drugging me, as some of you said, because I honestly don't want to know. We have been texting these past few days, mostly about Jack, but I'm considering family therapy, mostly to help Jack cope with everything. The divorce is still happening, which Peter wasn't too happy about, but he wasn't angry anymore, just sad. I also recently met a guy in a coffee shop, and we have been texting a lot, so I'll see how that turns out. And that's it for the moment. I'll update you guys if you have many questions or if something else happens. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Yeah, I really don't want to be the one to say this because your life is your life, but I genuinely think you should hold off on any dating whatsoever. Was he a good partner and father before? No, not really, because all of that is tainted and irrevocably changed since he's been playing behind the scenes to make you his. Your relationship wasn't a natural process of getting to know each other and falling in love, it's been him stalking you for years and throwing away his previous relationship to manipulate a friendship, then a romance, with you. Really think about it, your ex-husband played puppet master the entire time you've known him. Every meaningful moment was, or is highly likely to have been, orchestrated by him without you knowing. He even wants to give up the son you guys adopted. He blames your son for the relationship failing and tried to convince you to give him up. I remember that one update you did where he told you he'd take care of you and give you everything so you could stop working and be home with him. If you were a woman, there would have been a barefoot and pregnant added to that. This man is obsessed with you, wants you with him always, and still blames your son for taking your attention and probably would give him up if given the chance, and you think dating is still doable? Please think about not starting anything with anyone, because if your ex has gone to these lengths, I guarantee you getting a boyfriend will push him even further. If your son was in a relationship with someone who acted and did the same things as your ex, what would you tell him? Please be safe, dude. Story 4.
I got pregnant with a child of a married man and ran away when he wanted me to delete a fetus, but now 2 years later, he's found me and wants to play happy family. Posted by u/free_river_3388. I, 26F, had an affair with a married man, 42M, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business, which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in it. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s, so attracted to him, and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all the attention he gave me, the great segs, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful about preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing. The things he'd ask me to do, I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or at least I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would, of course, dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real, normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying the baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, WTF, and buy me something special if I'd just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids, and that he couldn't openly be a father to another child when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to get it done. I was all packed the night he was supposed to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and unsafe about the whole situation. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him, saying I promised never to contact him again, never to name him as the father, or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I'd better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times, it's been difficult, but overall, we are thriving as best we can. I have kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded to her yet. I am unsure how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring the option for my child to know his siblings if she's being genuine about that. If I were married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same way she does. /relevant comments. Commenter. So many people are telling you to go for it for the sake of the child and possible child support, but I would say that you have good instincts that have served you well. Don't ignore them now. You are leading a happy life with your child. You have survived so far without his financial help. Letting her and the children into your lives would be inviting him back into your life too. You also don't know what her intentions are, or even if it is her who is contacting you. No matter what, it will be inviting him back into your life in some way. He made you feel unsafe and wanted you to get rid of your child. He also abandoned you and your child. He cheated on his wife and kids for a long time. He is not a good guy. I would say, keep him out of your life. Continue as you are. First update 3 weeks later. I made a post about this 3 weeks ago, and things have only gotten stranger. Essentially, I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair, formally identify him as the father, or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole situation, and I felt that due to the mess I had created and how I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement from him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live. About a month ago, his ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now, their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father had an affair with. It seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I'd just ignore it. She only sent me the one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking or meeting. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize to her. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face-to-face since I couldn't trust that it was really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect, if this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me or what. I mean, I deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years and that she knew about someone even before he met me, but she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me and that while she initially harbored a lot of anger towards me, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses not to hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him, along with many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow, I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved in my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate me if I were them. I told her that with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but he will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met, barely ever seems to sit down, So he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to move all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently, she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up, and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie, and did he somehow get her to reach out to me on his behalf? And she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true, or was she just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I'm going to be straight with you. The man is likely high in narcissistic traits, and the woman is not going to leave him. She will likely end up with him again. I wouldn't trust anything either of them says as genuine. Think about your son in all this, because if he is emotionally or physically hurt, it could linger for the rest of his life. He would be better off thinking his dad just isn't around. Ops response. He thinks he's the greatest thing on planet Earth. At one time, I found this attractive for some reason. Commenter 2. So she divorced him, yet she is his nurturer and caretaker due to an accident, and now they both want you/kid in their life. Girl, GTFOH. Throw the whole family away because the toxicity surrounding their dynamic is spooky. There is no way that woman has made peace with you as the affair partner or your child as the affair baby. Their teens aren't interested in a sibling bond with a toddler. Don't volunteer as tribute for this BS. If you truly want the dude to be a dad to your kid, start things slow with video chats, and that's it. There's no way you should consider meeting in person, and definitely not alone with just them. Ops response. It's all very bizarre. Based on everything she said about their relationship, their bond, their family, her life has always revolved around him and continues to do so even after divorcing him. She seems clingy and desperate to be in his life, almost proud that she was his wife and that all of the other women were nothing important to him. Second update 2 months 2 weeks later. Since I last posted here a couple months ago, I deleted all social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable. Then I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son, be a father to him, provide financially for him, and even asked us to come visit him. He also asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this easy for him. After the things he said to me and the threats he made, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through the lawyer since then. I have never responded to him personally or directly. Now, I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I feel like a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it being just the two of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Third update 1 month 2 weeks later. Around 1.5 months ago, we were ordered to submit DNA samples for a paternity test. It took about 5 weeks to get the results, which confirmed what I already knew. But now things are stalled for another several weeks for the next step in the court process. I haven't talked to him at all during this whole thing. I didn't respond directly to his letter. I do have a lawyer, and everything is basically going through him now. Then, without any warning, he just showed up at my home last weekend. He knocked on the door like it was nothing, saying that this is his son and he doesn't want to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably order us into some sort of custody mediation anyway, his words. He asked why I couldn't just talk to him. I told him that he made me uncomfortable and that him showing up at my house unannounced really made me uncomfortable. Honestly, I'm not sure what made me more uncomfortable, the fact that he showed up like that or the fact that I instantly felt the same attraction to him that I had when I was with him, and I didn't want to feel that at all. In some weird way, part of me felt happy to see him, and another part of me was disgusted that I was happy. He said he doesn't understand why we can't just talk about this. He's not trying to take my son away from me, he just wants to be involved in his life and help provide for him like he should have been all along. He's sorry he wasn't there when our son was born, And he's sorry he reacted the way he did when I didn't go along with his plans for the abortion. Why can't I believe that he just wants to be a dad to his kid? I guess I agree with him. Why can't I just accept that he's had a change of heart? But I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own judgment. I feel like if I easily let him into my son's life, I'll end up regretting it and be made a fool of somehow. I've already made so many mistakes when it comes to him. He says it's stupid of me not to try to work it out amongst ourselves first, that I'm giving too much control to the court. I don't know whether to believe that or if it's just his way of convincing me to do what he wants. I know he will get some sort of visitation and eventual custody. Maybe it would be better if we tried to come to an agreement, but he has the ability to sway me so easily. I feel so foolish when it comes to him. Nobody else has ever made me feel this way. I want my son to have a dad, and I admit it's probably selfish of me to want to keep him away. But I keep imagining having to spend weeks or months apart from my child while he's living with his dad 12 hours away, and I can't stand the thought of it. I'm just feeling sad, stupid, and defeated. /relevant comments. Commenter. At this point, you need to trust your lawyer, hopefully he is a good one. Make sure that your lawyer has all the facts, including how poorly he treated you when he found out you were pregnant. Do not communicate anymore with your ex, especially since you know that you are incapable of making good decisions when he is involved. You may need to prepare yourself mentally that your ex is eventually going to play a role in your kid's life, as much as that sucks. Hopefully, you can go after him for back child support. Ops response. My lawyer has any and all information that I possibly had to share. I am already preparing myself for the likelihood that he will have a role in my child's life. I mean, the change will be difficult for me, and I honestly don't want anything to change. But I'm trying to focus on any shred of positive outcome this could have for my son. He deserves a dad. I wish it wasn't in this situation. I wish I had given him 2 loving parents in a stable relationship, the ideal. I wish I had at least given him a father who didn't live states away. I feel bad that my son has 2 lying cheaters for parents. I truly do feel so embarrassed about our behavior in a new way I didn't before, ever since my son was born. Other than that whole thing and the fact that he's apparently had affairs with multiple women, according to his ex-wife, he actually seems like a good dad to his teenage kids. He was always very involved with them. I guess I'm just trying to cling to whatever positive things I can think of. He can also provide a lot more financially than I currently can. That's scary for me because I'm already turning it into some sort of competition between us in my head. Several points for him, none for me. 4th update 1 month 2 weeks later. Since the last time I posted, we've had a mediation session, and he's met our son twice. At this time, he will have supervised visitation, with me present. Because he lives states away, he is required to come here to see our son. It won't be on a weekly basis due to the travel, but he will see him during 2 weeks of the month, 2 times each week, for a total of 4 visits a month, plus 2 video calls a month. This arrangement will last for 6 months. The next step will be for him to continue that schedule but with unsupervised visitation during which he cannot remove our son from the area for another 6 months. After a year, we agreed to have another mediation session to determine the next steps, with his goal, of having my son at his home for short overnights. I'm not even ready to discuss that. He's already suggesting that I can come for the first few times. I don't like the sound of it at all. We also have the option to request another mediation before the 1-year mark, and something tells me he's going to push for that. I also have an order for child support. While he is in agreement with paying it, the process will have to work through the court system before it becomes official and I start receiving regular payments. In the meantime, he wrote me a large check. I was hesitant to accept it, not because I don't think my son deserves it, but because I'm worried that by accepting it, I might unknowingly do something that could hurt me legally. I'm concerned that I might be obligating myself or my son to something by accepting this check. Could he somehow use this against me? Of course, he wasn't in favor of the 6-month/6-month plan. While he does understand that our son shouldn't just go off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he wishes we could speed things along more quickly. But 6 months was what we were able to agree on. He wanted to fly us both to where he lives so he could spend a week or 2 getting to know our son, but I don't feel that's appropriate at this time. Maybe in a few months, or around the holidays, depending on how things are going, but right now it would be too much too soon. The initial 2 meetings went pretty much as I expected. My son is extremely shy. He wanted to hide behind me most of the time. When he did venture out from behind me, as soon as his dad would say anything to him, he'd scurry back behind me and just stare at his dad blankly without saying anything. He came out of his shell a little bit, but he still hasn't said a single word to his dad. He just pretends his dad isn't there and only talks to me. I will say that his dad is being patient and understanding about it, If he's frustrated, he's not showing it. He did suggest that maybe our son needs to get out more, perhaps go to daycare more or even preschool, instead of spending so much time with me and my parents. He's very delighted with how much our son looks like him and how much he favors him over me. The one thing that did bother me is that I had already told him I wanted to be very careful and mindful about how we informed our son, this little barely 3-year-old boy, that this man, this complete stranger, is his dad. He said, "Sure, yeah." But then, at the first meeting, he introduced himself as dad. Since then, I've been trying to help my son understand, saying things like, "You know how your grandpa is my daddy? Well, this guy is your daddy." It's so surreal to me that any of this is happening. I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for something to blow up in my face. Now, it's just about working on accepting our new reality. All of this change is hard and confusing for my son, and it's hard for me too. Unless he really messes up, I'm looking at eventually having to share time with my son during school breaks and holidays, with him spending that time at his dad's house, hours and hours away in another state. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will likely happen in the foreseeable future. I just hope he stays committed. If he can be a good dad to my child, then my child deserves that, no matter how sad sharing him makes me. But if he breaks my son's heart, that'll be a different story, and I won't accept that so readily. /relevant comments. Commenter. What did your lawyer say about accepting money from your son's father before child support is finalized? I find it hard to believe that a court would order your 3-year-old to go to another state to visit a man whom your son doesn't know and who refused to have anything to do with him for 3 years. Your affair partner sounds like he has enough money to come to your state for the visits, so it's not like cost is an issue. The man can take vacation and rent a place near you, or he can buy a second, or third, home near you. If you don't want your son to go on out-of-state visits, get a better lawyer. Ops response. They haven't ordered him to visit his father in his state, but eventually, that will probably happen, talking about elementary school age. 5th update 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks since I last posted and just over a month since our new visitation arrangement started. I've seen plenty of people here talking about how dumb I am, and I don't really understand. What am I doing that's so dumb? I know it was dumb to have an ongoing, year-long affair with a married man. It was stupid to put myself in a position where I could likely end up pregnant. That was in the past. What am I doing now that's so stupid? I have a lawyer. Yes, I agreed to talk to his wife one time. How was I supposed to know she was just doing his bidding? Who would have thought that was the case? It's not even like I went to meet her in person somewhere. It was just a video call. I figured I at least owed that to her, just one time, and a chance to tell her I was sorry for what I did. But ultimately, it felt off, and I protected my son by telling her I didn't think it was appropriate at this time for me and my 2-year-old to travel to another state to meet her teenage kids. It's not as if talking to her opened the door for him to reach out to me. I was careful with what information I shared with her. It's not like I told her my address. He didn't need her to gather that info from me. My talking to her isn't what prompted him to contact me directly and establish paternity. When he reached out to me directly about wanting to be involved with our son, I didn't decide to discuss things directly with him. I got a lawyer. When he showed up at my house, I didn't let him inside. I put my son in his room so he didn't see our son or have access to him. I'm listening to my lawyer. I met with him in mediation, and I'm trying to make careful decisions for my son. There's nothing I can do to prevent him from having access to our son. If I fight it, the court will grant him access anyway. At least this way, I have a say in the arrangement. We're supposed to be using a parenting app, but since the last time I posted, he's reached out to me outside of the app. He keeps talking about us coming to visit him, but I've told him no, it's not appropriate, and it's too much too soon. He's also already started talking about changing my son's last name to his, saying, maybe in a year or so. He tries to have personal conversations with me, not always about our son. I've shut those down and referred him back to the parenting app. He thinks using the app is stupid and is only for people who can't get along. He believes it'd be better for our son if we got along and got to know each other again. He says he cares about me and what's going on in my life, or so he claims. I also didn't cash the check he gave me, I returned it. If he wants to help financially beyond the child support he's ordered to pay, he can purchase items that our son needs out of his own free will, but he isn't to give me cash or checks. My lawyer actually told me that there was nothing wrong with accepting and cashing the check, and that it wouldn't affect anything related to child support. But knowing him, I felt he might try to use the check against me in court later, and I just didn't feel comfortable about it. Sure, I would have loved to keep it, there are plenty of useful things I could have used that money for. Of course, he was upset when I returned the check via certified mail. His plan was foiled. I know he's trying to butter me up for something. I don't know exactly what, but I'm not so naive that I don't see through him now. 6th update 2 months later. It's been 2 more months of this. 2 months of him sending me messages, half about our son, half about everything else. Despite the parenting app, he just can't seem to stick to it. Every other day, I get a text directly from him, "How's our son?" Followed by, "You good though? Do you need anything?" He's also started sending packages for our son. The last one came a few days ago, a big box of toys, books, and clothes. At first, I didn't know what to think. Was this another tactic? But then I looked at the stuff he sent. It was thoughtful, age-appropriate books, clothes that actually fit, and toys my son genuinely liked. It was clear he put effort into it. Or, the person he had go buy the stuff put effort into it. Hopefully not his poor ex-wife. For a moment, I could see him trying to be a father. A small part of me appreciated that. Still, I'm careful. I'm not letting my guard down. The good gestures are mixed with moments that make me feel uneasy. He mentioned again that maybe in a year or so we should talk about changing my son's last name. I don't know why he keeps bringing it up. He acts like it's no big deal, like it's just something we'll agree on eventually. On the other hand, I can't deny that having him show up consistently with child support and gifts has taken some pressure off me. He's contributing in ways that actually help. My son seems happy with the things he's sent. And while I don't want to rely on it, it's nice not to worry about buying new clothes every month. The biggest challenge right now is finding balance. How do I acknowledge the good things he's doing without letting my guard down too much? How do I protect my son from getting hurt if he loses interest or starts pushing too hard again? I'm still following my lawyer's advice, still documenting everything. But the dynamic is changing, and I'm trying to keep up. For now, I'm taking things day by day. Some moments feel peaceful, like maybe this arrangement could work. Other moments, I feel the weight of what's coming. He'll keep pushing for more time, for overnights, for a bigger role. He thinks it's unfair if I don't let him spend more time with our son during the holidays. He was practically throwing a temper tantrum about it. If I won't go to him, then he can rent an Airbnb and we can stay together. What? Why would we do that? He'll see him in December during his regularly scheduled visit. So then he called me a narcissistic, paranoid parent who just wants our son all to myself and said that I'm psychologically damaging him by not forcing him to go from 0 to 60, playing happy family with a complete stranger overnight. The thing is, he has a way of saying it that makes me start to believe it, and then I worry if I'm really being that way. I don't know why he can't just act like a normal, patient, understanding adult. I'm cooperating, and I know their level of contact and time will increase gradually. That's the key word, gradually. I'm not even trying to prevent that, but I just can't agree with this idea he has of acting like he hasn't been completely uninvolved for almost 3 years. He's also trying to bribe me with money again. I'm not talking about the court-ordered child support and things like that. He asked me how much debt I had, and I wouldn't tell him. He kept pushing me to tell him because he would consider paying it off for me. Come on, let me help you. It's not help out of the kindness of his heart. He says there aren't strings attached, but I'm sure there are. He'll expect something in return, like for me to agree to change our son's name or allow some sort of custody arrangement I'm uncomfortable with. I do have a lot of debt that's a huge stressor on me, and yes, I've considered taking advantage of his offer, but not when I know my son is the price I have to pay. He told me he can find out how much debt I have if I don't tell him and that he knows a lot more about me than I realize. I hope that's just him trying to intimidate me. It sounds like it's mostly just talk, something stupid he'd say. He is sounding more and more like his old self though. So much for this accident really changing him for the better. He's really had me fooled at moments. At the end of the day, it's not money or fancy things that would go a long way with me. It's things like a genuine apology for threatening to unalive me, little things like that, which go completely ignored and swept under the rug. That would mean much more to me, but only if it were completely genuine. 7th update 2 months later. I'm just posting a quick update because several people have reached out and expressed concern for me and my safety. I'm fine, my son is fine. I appreciate that people were concerned. There just hasn't been much change or reason to post an update since my last one, until very recently. We continue to follow the same visitation schedule, with my son's father traveling here to visit. He hasn't missed a visit, pays child support as ordered, and other than his pushiness, things are going okay. My son is a lot more comfortable with him now and doesn't hide behind me or stay silent the entire time, but I think it's hard for him to grasp the concept of this guy being his dad. He's just a nice guy who plays with him and brings him toys a few times a month. Last weekend was one of his visitation weekends, and he bought tickets for a Polar Express train ride. I had planned to do that when my son was maybe 4 or 5. I think 3 is a little young, but of course, he'd already bought the tickets. The 3 of us went. I don't really feel threatened by him, but I also don't feel comfortable letting him take my son somewhere alone yet. I didn't have the best attitude going into it. I felt like I was kind of going against my will. We stayed in a nice hotel that was decked out for Christmas and part of a Polar Express package. I was worried he'd expect us all to share a room, but he got us separate rooms. The train ride was fun, and my son enjoyed it. I don't know that he cared about Santa, but he liked the cocoa, the jingle bell, and the pancake breakfast the next morning. He got cranky towards the end of the train ride, but overall it was okay, and I got a ton of really great pictures I'll treasure forever. Everything was going fine. It was a totally tolerable experience being there with my son's father. I wasn't focused on him. I was sort of able to ignore his presence to a degree. Then after we got back from the train ride, he said he loved me, he'd give anything to be sleeping in the same bed as me that night. I told him I didn't want to talk about that it'd ruin the entire weekend, and that we wouldn't be sleeping in the same bed. He said he doesn't understand why I'm so resistant to him. I guess he thinks I can just easily forget the way he treated me and our son when I told him I wasn't going to get a termination. I told him I can't get over what he said and did to me, and he said, I didn't mean it, that was years ago. I refused to talk about it anymore, but I couldn't resist asking him why he's doing all of this. I still don't understand why he decided to re-enter our lives. I don't buy that he suddenly had a totally non-selfish change of heart after he was in his accident. He said he just wants to be there for his son and I should be happy for our son to have a father. He also said he can give him so much and I selfishly want to prevent that because of my pride. He thinks the reason I won't be with him again is just because I'm stubborn and insist on resisting everything he could do to make my life better and happier. So, the whole thing just ended on a sour note. We won't see him again until January. He hasn't really tried to talk to me since then. He has short, scheduled video calls with my son, and he usually tries to get me to talk to him, but I basically ignored him. I may just have my dad take my son for the next few visits. I know my dad won't want to spend any time with my ex, and my ex definitely won't want to spend time with my dad, but I think it'd probably be for the best and would send a clear message. AITA update 1 month 2 weeks later. This is the first time I've dated anyone since my relationship with my son's father. I intentionally haven't dated, not because I'm still in love with him, but because it didn't feel like a responsible thing to do. After the mess that was that relationship and the bad decisions I made, I decided that I needed to dedicate myself to being a good mother to my son. I needed to figure out how to stand on my own 2 feet and support my son, and that left no room for dating. I also felt like I had to prove to those who knew the true story of my son's conception, not many people, that I could be a good, caring, responsible mom. I felt like I had to prove something, and dating other men or jumping into a new relationship just wouldn't look good. In reality, I ended up being too busy and too tired to date, even if I'd wanted to. Plus, it was hard for me to picture introducing any man to my child. I knew from the start that I would never parade different men in and out of his life. I was scared to take the chance on anyone and have me and my son get hurt. I dreamed of finding somebody who could be a dad to my son one day, but at the same time, it was hard to imagine ever finding a man I liked enough to let into our lives. I actually went out with this guy for the first time about a year ago. We went on 2 dates. Never slept together. I was being cautious. Then all of this stuff started to happen with my son's father, and I got spooked, I guess. I felt overwhelmed with all of that and not in a good place to start a new relationship. I wasn't going to really be fully present in a new relationship with this other drama happening in my life. We kept in touch and just sort of stayed friends. It's not like we hung out together, but we'd check in with each other a few times a month. Then a few months ago, he basically told me he knows I'm dealing with all this other stuff, but I shouldn't let it get in the way of me living my life. We went out on a few casual dates, and I still felt attracted to him. He's so much different from my son's father. For starters, he's age-appropriate for me. But his personality is so different. He's genuine, not walking around constantly in a BS salesman act mode. He's not a narcissistic control freak. He doesn't rush me when I'm talking or turn every conversation around to be about himself. He's confident but not a braggart. He's super fun to be around, and I feel so much more relaxed around him than I ever have or do around my son's father. I don't want to drag him into everything that I'm dealing with, but he knows enough about what's happening. I was honest with him about that relationship, that I knowingly slept with and carried on a relationship with a married man. I've been really worried that when any man I was interested in found out that I was involved in an affair and about how my son came about, he'd think I was trash and not want anything to do with me. He said he thinks people can make mistakes that don't have to define them, And he's more interested in the current me, not whoever I was back then when I made that decision. He doesn't think the version of me he knows would make the same decision. He told me he thinks I'm a good person and a good mom, and that actually attracted him to me more, not in a weird way though. He says seeing how much I love my son and the way I talk about him and stuff is endearing, and it was my sweetness that he liked, but he's never dated anyone with kids before. He has nieces and nephews. He feels fine about kids, but dating somebody with a kid is new for him. He won't be meeting my son for quite a while, if we make it that long. He's totally fine with that, and he understands that my schedule as far as any time we spend together has to be worked around my son and that my son comes first. The weird thing is that my ex found out I was dating. He's either spying on me directly or he's having somebody do it for him. He said something like, "So you've got a new man now," at the last visitation. And, "Don't look so surprised, your son told me." First off, my son doesn't even know that my boyfriend exists. I haven't mentioned him to my son, and they've never met. Plus, my son has no concept of what dating is or even boyfriend/girlfriend. I don't post on social media anymore. So how else would he know? I think he has somebody checking on me, or he might just be following me when he comes here for his visitation. January's visitation was the last supervised visitation. Starting this month, this weekend, he has unsupervised visitation. It's only for a few hours on Saturday and again on Sunday. No overnights. Overnights are supposed to start in 6 months. I'm sure he'll start asking for them sooner, though. I was a wreck. I didn't think he'd hurt our son. I kind of worried he'd run back to his home state with him, but I don't think he's dumb enough to do that on his first unsupervised visit. I mainly just worried that my son would be scared and think I left him. I talked to him, explained he'd be spending a few hours with his dad and then I'd be back to get him. His dad even told me I could call at any time. I made it through without calling, but it nearly killed me not to call. All I could think about was my son sobbing and thinking I'd abandon him. When I got there to pick him up, he seemed fine, happy, he'd eaten lunch, told me all about what he and his dad did, and fell asleep almost as soon as we got home because he didn't have a nap. I'm happy he didn't freak out, but this is so hard for me. 9th update 3 months 1 week later. I gave in to my ex this weekend. Well, I started to give in earlier than that, but physically it happened this weekend. I was dating this really great guy. I posted about him previously. I liked him a lot, but our relationship was pretty casual. He hadn't met my son yet. For me, it was just nice having a grown-up to occasionally go out and do stuff with. It was also sort of nice having those feelings about a guy again, just the excitement and all of those good new relationship feelings. He got a job about 2 hours away from where we live. His degree and training are pretty specific. You can't just go anywhere and get a job in this field. Many of these jobs are on college campuses. He's been working in this field, but in an assistant role here at a college in our city. A higher level position opened up at a university about 2 hours away. He didn't think he'd actually get it. He's still pretty new to the field, and there are many people with considerably more experience than him. But he got offered the job. He has a great personality, and I feel like he probably won them over in his multiple interviews. We decided to not commit to any sort of romantic relationship. We're not interested in dating somebody we live hours apart from. My life and schedule don't really lend themselves to me dating somebody who lives 2 hours away. My time is already limited. I know 2 hours isn't far, but you know he's going to be in a bigger city, a new exciting place. He'll have so many opportunities to meet people. I was sad about it, still am a little, but it's not like I was heartbroken. Our relationship wasn't that deep. In the meantime, my son's visitations with his dad have been going well. He has unsupervised visitation now. He travels here and stays overnight in a rental on these weekends. My son doesn't stay overnight with him, he spends all day Saturday and half the day Sunday with his dad. He calls him daddy now. He's comfortable with him. Soon, we have to go back to mediation. It's what we agreed upon with our initial agreement. The next steps will probably be overnight visits here in my city. There's really no reason for me to argue against it since my son is adapting well to the progressive visitations we've been doing. I've been talking to him outside of the parenting app. Before, he was contacting me outside of it, but we weren't having conversations. I was doing my best to shut him down. Now I'm actually talking to him. After he told me that he found out about this guy I was seeing, he backed off for a while. He wasn't really reaching out outside the app, he was actually doing what he was supposed to be doing. On his last visit, it was my birthday weekend. He told me he could keep our son overnight if I was going out with this guy to celebrate my birthday. He said he wasn't trying to pressure me to allow an overnight, and he totally understood if I wanted to stick to no overnights yet, but wanted me to know he could do it if I wanted to go on the night of my birthday. It seemed so genuine, and I didn't feel pressured by him to say yes, and he has a way of pressuring you to say yes if he really wants you to. I told him no, we broke up, and I wasn't planning to stay out late on my birthday. I wanted to see my son on my birthday. He was fine with it. My birthday came, and I received a big flower arrangement and a card from him. He's been sending flowers every week since then. He got my card detailed for me as a gift. My son had decided to paint stripes down the sides of it with a rock last fall. He asked if he could just have 5 minutes on the phone with me, and if I told him not to ever mention it again, he would respect that. He told me he was sorry for everything he's done, involving me in his cheating on his wife, threatening me about the pregnancy, not being involved with our son. He said he's committed to being a father to our son and he wouldn't still be paying for plane flights out here twice a month if he were doing it for ulterior motives. He's changed his will to include our son and ensure he's provided for. He's making a bedroom for him in his house right now for the day I say our son can finally visit there. He confessed that he'd be lying if he said he didn't want to be with me, that he wasn't still attracted to me, and in a totally different way now that we have a child together. He wants me to give him a chance to prove he really cares about me and has changed. And I don't have to promise anything right now, but what if things work out and we can be together as a family, not having to split our time with our son? I didn't want to resist it any longer. I don't know if it was because I'm still so scared of the day where I'll have to send my son off to go stay states away at his dad's house or what. Nobody else gives me the same feelings he does. I'm still so attracted to him, and I've never felt so good with a man before or after him. I feel like I'm resisting it because I'm supposed to, but I don't want to anymore. There's nothing wrong about us being together now. I slept with him on Saturday night. I hadn't really planned to, but I wanted to and fully consented to it. It happened with me on a washing machine in an Airbnb, so nothing romantic in the least bit, but I can't describe how good it made me feel physically and emotionally. I don't really know where this is going to go from here. I'm going to be careful. I'm going to try to be smart. I'm going to keep my son as the priority. We're going to stick to the custody plan. This doesn't change any of that. /relevant comments. Commenter. Wow, you were easy for him to manipulate, again. Have you heard the saying, history repeats itself? I'm very disappointed in you. He knew you had just broken up with that other guy, and it was not smart of you to tell him that. He love-bombed you, and you dropped your pants just like that. He's a master manipulator, hun. That's why you feel so good about it. He got you to give yourself up to him again. You're a trust feelings and not facts type of person. Look where it's gotten you so far. Keep doing what you're doing, and you'll keep getting what you're getting. You're throwing away your life and hurting your son. But hey, it's your life. You did start by getting pregnant by a married guy and falling for the "we are only married on paper" lie when you could have verified that with his wife. But you didn't. You didn't even try to know the truth. It's gonna suck when he's done using you. It's gonna suck when your son resents you and adores his new mommy when his dad gets a new girl that's young and fresh. When you're poor and daddy and new mommy can take your son out to do almost anything, he will choose them. Literally, this guy is setting you up for this. You fall in love with him, then move in with him, and now he's got you. But most importantly, now he has your son. And soon, the new mommy will come into play. Look how he got his ex-wife to do whatever he wanted and how complacent she was. He's a smooth operator and a horrible, horrible human. Look up how this has happened to other women on this forum. It's not too late to turn back, but it will be once you allow him to steal your light, youth, and eventually your joy when he steals your son. Ops response. The one thing I can agree on is that I tend to follow my feelings. I've tried to operate more on logic since having my son. I think I've done a pretty good job, but a lot of the time, I'm left feeling very unhappy. I feel like I constantly make these super logical, responsible decisions for everyone else's sake because it's what they want me to do. I think he's changed in some ways, not in all ways, but in some ways. I don't think he's trying to set me up for anything. Commenter 2. I really don't think he's changed that much. Just in your last update, he somehow found out about you being in a relationship without you or your son telling him, indicating he at least has someone watching you. Now he's actively trying to get on your good side, i.e., paying for fixes on your car, sending flowers, and asking to have him overnight so you can go out. He's playing the long game, and I really hope you see it before he truly gets you back. Commenter 3. Girl, I thought you were learning from your mistakes. He's over there love-bombing you and had you followed. He hasn't changed. He's just telling you what you want to hear. Now, because he was finally able to get back in your pants, he'll have more emotional power over you in your custody arrangements. No more logical thinking. Come on, up. He'll definitely try to move you back to where he lives because wouldn't it be better if we lived together? He'll try to make you stop working and will probably try to get you pregnant again. We can be a family. I'll take care of everything. Meanwhile, you'll lose all your independence. I'm so thoroughly saddened by this update. Please wake up, Op, before it's too late. Op's response. I know this will be controversial to say, but sometimes I feel like I'd be willing to give up some independence in exchange for not having to worry about everything all the time.
Story 5.
My family has left me out of multiple events over the years, but they just excluded me from the birth of my sister's first child, and now they're mad that I'm upset and telling me I'm sorry you feel that way. Posted by you/lobster lopsided 6038. I, 34F, have two sisters who I'll call Sally, 31F, and Bella, 28F. I'm close to both, or at least thought I was. Bella got married a few years ago and had been having fertility issues. She and her partner finally conceived through IVF, and I was ecstatic for her when I found out she was pregnant. There have been a few times over the years where I felt purposely left out of things. I was the only one who never got an invitation to Bella's graduation. She thought I wouldn't want to go, and when our grandfather passed away, they had a big family get-together a few days later. I was the only one not invited. They didn't think I'd want to go, again. When Bella had her baby shower, she organized it on a day where she knew I wouldn't be able to attend. Although upset at missing out, I dropped off at my parents' a beautiful hamper full of things I'd been buying for the baby and Bella and included a handmade blanket that one of my aunts, recently passed, had knitted for my little boy when she found out I was pregnant 6 years ago. Throughout her pregnancy, Bella said that the day she had the baby, she only wanted our parents and her husband's parents to visit the hospital and that they wanted the first 24 hours at home by themselves with no visitors, as they have a dog and wanted him to get used to the baby first. Totally understandable and fine by me. Bella has had multiple medical complications throughout her pregnancy, which meant she had to have an early C-section. I spoke to Bella the day before and told her my day was clear, at work but not a lot on, and that if she needed me, she knew where I was and that I couldn't wait to hear from her. We didn't know the gender or anything, so very excited. On the day, I got a call around 1 p.m. from Bella, in which she and my dad introduced me to my beautiful nephew. I was delighted. Bella then handed the phone to my mom as a nurse came in. My mom then informed me that Sally was there. My joy turned into devastation. I asked my mom why I hadn't been invited to the hospital too. She said because I was working, they hadn't thought I'd be able to go. I told her that was an issue for me to deal with and that if I'd been asked, my manager would have let me leave to enjoy the moment with my family, but instead they were all there enjoying that beautiful moment without me, again. I hung up in tears from my mom. I've removed myself from the family group chat. I spoke to my manager at work, who said she would have definitely let me leave for the afternoon and was shocked my family had done that. I messaged my mom afterwards and told her how upset I was, and her response was, "I'm sorry you feel that way." My manager said she's gaslighting me and said my feelings are absolutely valid. But was I overreacting? Am I the jerk for hanging up on my family? /relevant comments. Commenter. I don't know why, but I have this feeling Bella is behind a lot of this. It sounds like you had children first and she struggled. But whatever the reason behind your family's attitude and actions, I want you to realize that none of it is your fault. They are making active choices to exclude you. And I know that hurts you very much. The hard part is that you may never know why. I have daughters close to your age, and I would never have allowed something like this to go on. If you're having a problem with another family member, you work it out, or you suck it up and go wherever they're going to be. But I would not exclude someone else because you refuse to deal with whatever your issues are. You are not the jerk, and you definitely need to go no contact. I would stop calling. I would stop contacting them. And as much as I hate to say it, they will probably not even notice because they're already excluding you. This is not how family acts. And when your family tries to gaslight you later on, don't fall for it. Call them out on this crap. Tell them that's bullcrap. Say, every time you didn't think I'd want to go, but you never asked. So don't try to pin your attitudes and whatever this exclusionary tactic is on me. And then hang up the phone. Create your own family with your in-laws and your friends who really care about you. The fact that all of us are appalled by your family's behavior, as is your own boss, should tell you everything you need to know. Op's response. I honestly have no idea why they are like this with me. I always thought I had good, strong relationships with both my parents and my sisters. I'm the eldest of the three, and when I had my son, I was 28. Bella was only 21, nearly 22, so still quite young, so I don't think that having kids first has anything to do with it. My partner, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law are livid with how I was treated and have agreed I'm not the jerk in any way. I just don't know how to move forward. I'm devastated. Commenter 2. Your family does not like you. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but they really don't give a damn about you. Have they ever expressed a reason why they constantly do not invite you to major events in their lives? Have they always done this, even when you all were children? It is just so toxic and emotionally abusive. They have shown you who they are and what they think about you. It is up to you if you want to continue to pursue this relationship with them and hope to get more than scraps, or just stop. It is also up to you to approach them individually and ask them why they never include you in anything. Or, you can say to hell with it and not bother wasting time getting some lame answer from them. Focus on yourself and your own family. Ops response. Honestly, it didn't start happening until I moved out of the family home. I was 20 when I moved out and have been extremely independent for a long time. But that doesn't negate the fact that I still don't get invited to things. A lot of the time, they say it's because I have a son with additional needs, can't get a babysitter, etc., but I have a very good relationship with my son's father, who works in childcare and swaps his shifts so I can attend family gatherings, such as Bella's wedding. My family knows this, so that's not an excuse either. Commenter 3. This is going to sound harsh or sad, but I don't think it's that they don't believe you can handle it. I suspect there is ableism involved, and they don't want your son there. Ops response. I hope that isn't the case, but I'm starting to think this might be one of the possible reasons why, unfortunately. Commenter 4. Families don't usually abandon loved family members without a reason. Have you done something that has upset them many times? Do you behave a certain way around them? I would ask them straight up why they are behaving this way and go from there. Ops response. Honestly, no. I visit my family every 2 weeks when my son is home with me so we can all spend time together. I stay in touch with both my sisters, meet for coffees, etc. I always thought I had a strong, loving bond with all my family members. Commenter 5. Are you an alcoholic or something? Is there some reason you're not telling us why they wouldn't want you around? Because you're not the jerk otherwise. Ops response. Nope, no drugs, no alcohol, no major issues. I've always been fairly close with my family. We communicate daily and spend weekends together, that sort of thing. Update 2 days later. First off, I just want to thank everyone for all of your supportive comments and to those who have shared their own stories. I've taken the time to read through everything over the last few days. So after Thursday, I didn't hear anything from my family at all until today, Sunday. I was scrolling through Facebook and saw that all of my brother-in-law's family were at the hospital on Thursday too. So the only people not invited were myself, my partner, and my son. I messaged my mother after I saw this and explained how I was now even more upset and asked what I had done. Her response was that I've done absolutely nothing, not to my sister or anyone. She tried to make out that Sally went to the hospital of her own volition, which I do not believe. She would not have just turned up. She would have asked. My mum said that because I was working, they had assumed I couldn't get time off. I explained that how I manage my work is up to me. If they'd asked and I declined, that would be another matter entirely. Anyway, I've told my mother I'm going low contact, how this isn't the first time I've been excluded, and that I'm deeply hurt by their actions. So that's it for now. I'm going to focus on my little family and my in-laws, who I saw today and who were very loving and supportive. Again, thank you to everyone for taking the time to read and comment. It meant a lot. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Low contact or no contact sounds like the best decision for you and your family. They are deliberately excluding you with no explanation that makes sense. A couple of things did stick out to me after reading both of your posts and some comments. You said your family started leaving you out after your son was born. Was it before or after he was diagnosed with learning disabilities? It seems like that's an odd time to start leaving you out. Are your partner and son invited to events, or are they left out too? Also, you say you're close to your whole family, but you only mention talking to your mom in your posts, and what she said to you. Have your dad and sister said things similar to what your mom has said? Or is it only from your mom? Ops response. I haven't heard anything from anyone else in my family. No one else has contacted me. I only contacted my mom last night because I'd seen all the pics on Facebook with other relatives at the hospital. Commenter 2. Good for you, but I am really curious about the fact that the entire family seems to be regularly excluding you and that nobody is even speaking up for you. Personally, I think your sister might be spreading around stories. Commenter 3. Just read Op's other posts about her son. Maybe there you'll find an explanation. A clue, an autistic 6-year-old carrying his tablet everywhere on full blast. I don't think it's about stories, It's more about Ops' attitude that everybody has to cater to my special needs son's behavior. You know, not all family functions and moments are compatible with this kind of behavior. In my opinion, especially a hospital visit to a newborn in a maternity ward. By the way, Ops' partner is a saint for still being with her. Ops' response: my son would not have been coming with me to the hospital. And you're absolutely right. My partner is an absolute saint, I totally agree, and we have been working on my son's behavior together over the last few months to decrease any sort of disruptive behavior. He's an absolute one of a kind. Commenter 4. Sorry everybody keeps harassing you about this. How dare you make a mistake and then learn from it? Especially if it involves your autistic child or being a single mother. That's also stupid. Everyone screws up. I'm glad you all seem to have grown from it, which is what we usually applaud people for, apparently, unless we can throw it back in their face at some point. This also doesn't seem like a valid reason to me. If that were the problem, I would hope someone would respect her enough to be honest with her and say that occasionally there were some gatherings that might not be the most autistic friendly. But that should really only be for the benefit of the child, not the comfort of the adults around him who apparently can't act like grown-ups. It also doesn't explain, to me anyway, the cold response from her family about this, especially from her mother. That's her grandchild, bro. That's supposed to be sacred in any normally functioning family. I have an autistic nephew with his fair share of issues. And yes, it can be disruptive at times and even difficult. But I've never even considered excluding him from anything family-related, nor has anybody else that I know of. We wouldn't dream of it. I would feel like a monster, just excluding that sweet little boy from his family because of something that isn't his fault. Screw that noise. And if your parents do end up showering the new kid with love and attention in a way they never did with your son, then yes, go no contact immediately. Save your son and yourself from that kind of abuse. You all have each other. I'd rather have a mom that loved and protected me than a whole family of exclusionary twats. Stay strong, up. Ops response: thank you so much for this. Yes, I made a mistake and I learned from it. I was a single parent for 2 years to my son and working full-time. I let him get away with a lot because it made my life just that little bit easier. That's what I was used to. I'm not alone anymore, and I work alongside my partner to make changes that benefit us as a family as a whole. It's nice to see that someone actually realized this. Plus, I wouldn't have taken my son to the hospital either. I was actually talking to my partner about this last night, as he's worried my parents will treat their new grandchildren very differently, and if that's the case, we will be going no contact. It will break my heart for my child, as he adores his grandparents, but I don't want to promote such a toxic environment either. Second update 3 days later. Many of you asked for another update. Bella contacted me last night. She said she didn't remember ever telling me that no one was allowed at the hospital and that the plan was always for all of her in-laws to go, and that she had already had a conversation with Sally about her going too. She said I must have misheard. I gently reminded her that my partner had been sitting in the room at the same time she said no one at the hospital other than parents, so I couldn't see how we'd both misheard that. The first thing he had said to me when I told him Sally was at the hospital was, she said no one other than yours or brother-in-law's parents. She then said she had been upset that I hadn't reached out to her after the FaceTime call to check on her and the baby and that she'd refused to chase me. I told her that I had no idea what had been going on, whether she'd been discharged or anything, and that as a new mom I figured she wanted some time, which is understandable. I didn't expect her to chase me. She told me that they've had to go back to the hospital daily since they were discharged, as the baby has been poorly. I told her I'm sorry about that, I genuinely am, and that I hope he gets better soon. She asked me when I'm going to see the baby. I told her I didn't know and that it would depend on an invitation. She told me the invitation is open, but that she's feeling really sore and bruised at the minute, understandable, and doesn't know how she's going to feel, so I need to put some time aside and check with them first if we did want to go through. I left it at that in the end, as it was past 10 p.m. and I needed some sleep. I'm honestly not too sure what to do. I spoke with my partner last night, who laid his thoughts and feelings down, total no contact, but said he will support me whatever I decide to do. Top/relevant comments. Commenter: I agree with no contact. Don't let them gaslight you. An open invitation, but you have to check if it is okay first before you go, is not an open invitation. Anytime you pick won't be a good time. Ops response: no, and I got that feeling when we were talking last night. I'm just going to leave it for now, I think, and wait and see whether I do get an actual invitation or not. I doubt I will, and I'm not chasing one either. Commenter 2. Was she planning to lie until you said your partner was present with you when she mentioned the visitor limitations? She's terrible. Ops response. It certainly seemed like it until I reminded her that he had been sitting in the same room as us. Third update 1 week later. So I messaged Bella back and told her that when she was feeling up to it, to let me know a day and we would go through. She left me on read and didn't respond. That's fine, I'm letting her get on with it. As for my mum, she's been sending messages and trying to FaceTime me. I've barely been responding to her messages. I haven't heard anything from Sally or my dad in the last 2 weeks. This evening my mum FaceTimed. I wouldn't have answered it, but my son was sat next to me and got giddy when he saw his grandmother pop up on my phone, so I did. She tried to act all normal and nicey nice, but I was blunt. I could tell she was miffed at the end of the call that I was still being off with her. After the call, I messaged her, probably shouldn't have done, but I did and it's done now, and told her that until I got a proper face-to-face apology, this is the way it's going to be. She messaged back and said she's apologized loads. She sent that I'm sorry you feel that way in one message that did say she was sorry, but in the middle of all the other waffle that came with it, and nothing face-to-face, and I told her that she'd tried to gaslight me the first time and only tried to apologize once over a text. She FaceTimed me again and told me that she had not tried to gaslight me, that she was sorry I felt that way, and that, and I quote, "You just let your feelings get the better of you." I told her again that no, that's not an apology. That my feelings are valid. She then said she was sorry, turned on the waterworks, and told me she couldn't do this anymore and hung up. So yeah, that's it up to this point. Other than that, I've been good. Just focusing on my son and partner and my day-to-day stuff with work, etc. I've actually been okay and sort of come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to have that close-knit relationship with my family anymore. But that's okay. I have my partner, my son, and my in-laws. They're the ones who need to be the important people in my life now. I doubt there'll be another update now, but thank you to everyone for taking the time to read and comment. It's really helped. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. To be honest, you never had a close-knit relationship with them. You just now took back your dignity and grew a backbone. Good for you. I wish you the best. It is important to keep the people close who support you unconditionally. Ops response. And to be honest, I feel better. I've stood up for myself to her face and actually feel great. But I'm so done with them now. Time to focus on my little family and be whole. Downvoted commenter. I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like you wanting a special invitation is a little weird. I remember having my kid, and I would have people say this to me, "Let me know when you're up for company," and I was just like, show up, and if I say no, then go away. Ops response. I don't want to just show up, though. That's pushing it a bit for me, even if it is my sister. When I had my son, during the first few weeks, I would invite people when and if I felt up to it. Downvoted commenter. Yeah, but isn't that what she asked of you? And isn't that how the other sister ended up at the hospital? She just showed up. From an outsider looking in, the sister that showed up just showed up, and then the sister who had the baby said, "Screw it, other family can come too," because her plans went out the window. Ops response. No, they'd actually already arranged for my other sister to go prior to her having the baby. And Bella told me that she'd already arranged for other relatives to go too. I was the only one not invited and was told that no one was invited to the hospital. Fourth update 3.5 weeks later. Okay, I honestly didn't think there'd be another update, but here goes. This only happened today, and I'm still feeling a bit unsure about things and I'm still very upset. So over the last few weeks, a lot has happened. My mom and dad have both apologized, and we're working on our relationship. Whether you agree with that or not, that's the decision I've made. Sally also came to see me, and we talked through the whole situation like adults. We both apologized to one another for how we made the other feel, and we've been okay since. Not back to normal, but better than it was. While Sally was at mine, she suggested I be the bigger person and reach out to Bella. After a few days of mulling over her words, I messaged Bella and told her I would be taking my son to see our parents today. She said she would come through to see us. My son, partner, and I got to my parents this morning at 10 a.m. We had to leave at 11:30 as we've had other things going on today. 45 minutes later, Bella shows up with her baby, now 5 weeks old. My mom asked Bella to let me hold him. Bella refused and said we needed to talk first, which was fine. I commented on the baby, asked how they were all doing, and even gave her a gift that me and my partner had picked up the other week, just a stuffed toy, nothing crazy. Bella gave me one-word answers, with my mum filling in all the other details. At one point, Bella handed the baby to my mum and left the room for about 10 minutes. My mum asked me to go and see her. I refused, as she'd barely acknowledged any of us since she came into the house. She came back in and again, barely spoke. As we were packing up to go, Bella said she was sorry for being quiet but that she was feeling awkward after 5 weeks. She said that I'd upset her by not contacting her to check on her and the baby. I told her that I knew she'd had a lot going on, being a new mom, the baby being exclusively breastfed, not a lot of sleep, and that she was recovering from surgery, and I hadn't wanted to hound her. She started shouting at me, calling me ridiculous and saying that's not what sisters do. That sisters are there for one another and that I'd hurt her feelings. She continued to shout at me, whilst holding her baby, saying that she never said I couldn't go to the hospital, that I'd misconstrued what she had said, and that she doesn't know how this will be fixed. My partner, Mum, and Dad tried to defuse the situation by saying they could see both sides and that even though we were frustrated with one another, she needed to calm down and just talk. Bella then started shouting at my parents, saying she was sick of them taking my side. At that point, I couldn't even say anything. My son was in the room, picking up on the frustration and anger from Bella, and asking to go. I told my family we were leaving. My mum and dad followed us out, and I broke down when I got in the car. My mum asked me to go back inside. I couldn't, I was too angry and needed to remain calm for my son and for the drive home. Bella came to the door with the baby and said she didn't want me to go like this. I told her tough. I tried, and all she'd done was shout at me. My partner tried to get me to turn around and go back, but I couldn't bring myself to. I was so upset I just wanted to come home. My mum rang me when we got home, asking if I was okay. I broke down again and said no. That I tried, but all Bella had done was shout at me and tried making me out to be a liar. She'd taken absolutely zero accountability for what she'd said to me and my partner all those weeks ago. My mum and dad actually both commended me for staying so calm whilst Bella had shouted. I told my mum that I refused to be a parent that loses it in front of her kid, and in order for me to remain calm, I'd needed to leave. My mum and partner say I should contact Bella again once I've calmed down, but I honestly don't know what to even say at this point. So yeah, for those that are interested in any of this, that's where we are right now. /relevant comments. Commenter. Everyone is telling Op to contact Bella, why? She is never going to admit fault. She will continue trying to place the blame on Op. It seems she wants Op to keep fighting for a relationship that isn't there or to force her way in. And I bet she will make a big deal out of it. Hope she goes no contact for a while with this sister. She is clearly holding on to something and refusing to admit it. Commenter 2. Because Bella's the golden child. Here's hoping some blinders are coming off after this. Though I'm not sure why Op's partner is telling her to be the first to contact. Commenter 3. Given the way things have gone so far, I suspect the partner knows that Op cannot bring herself to break things off with her sister, despite the fact that things aren't getting any better. If that's the reality, the partner may be choosing to steer into the skid and try to get the family drama handled at a point in time when the parents are at least noticing that Bella is behaving badly and is at least partially at fault. If the situation is left to cool down again until Op inevitably decides to try again, the parents may have gone back to their usual Bella-shaped blinders, especially with a newborn grandchild in the mix. Commenter 4. The fact that Bella was shouting while Op remained calm is what makes me think that Op didn't misunderstand, mishear, or misremember anything. Bella was trying to exclude Op, but now it's making her look bad to the rest of the family. She doesn't want to admit to her own misdeeds, so she's trying to cover them up with lies. She knows she doesn't have the facts on her side, so she's just shouting her lies louder in hopes of drowning out the truth. That's why she's only doing this at a family gathering. It's not Op that Bella is trying to convince. She knows Op isn't going to believe the lies, she just wants the rest of the family to witness it and believe the lies. When she said she was upset with her parents being on Op's side, it's not because she wants the conflict settled, it's because she wants them on her side.
Story 6.
Am I the jerk for kicking out my husband after he went to go see and comfort his ex-girlfriend? Posted by you/anonymously 10500. I, 32F, and my husband, 38M, have been married for 3 years. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, but we're a relatively happy couple. Though, in the beginning of our relationship, he was also dating Angela, 24F, 5 years ago. I was unaware of this other relationship, but when I found out, I confronted him, and he told me that since we weren't officially dating, he didn't know we were exclusive. I told him that if he didn't cut off this relationship with Angela, I was going to break it off. We left it at that, and we didn't talk for a while. Then he came to my apartment unexpectedly weeks later, saying it was over with Angela and that he wanted to try again and asked me to be his girlfriend. Ever since then, we have been a pretty normal couple. We have our moments, but our relationship is going good, and I believe he is my soulmate. Recently, there's been an issue in our relationship though, Angela. 3 weeks ago, We were out running errands and went to a small boba shop that had just opened up next to our local grocery store. As we were off to the side looking at the menu, from the corner of my eye, I saw a woman that looked similar to Angela walk in. I did a double take, and sure enough, it was her. I felt an intense amount of dread and hope that my husband wouldn't see her. As I was internally panicking, I heard a woman's voice call for my husband. And as you might have guessed, it was Angela. My husband turned around, and they had a small but awkward conversation. The whole time, I just disassociated and stared off into the distance until she asked my husband, "Is that your wife?" To which he just nodded and held my hand. I pretty much just awkwardly smiled and prayed this encounter would end the whole time. Eventually, she got in line and we waited behind her. I felt so embarrassed, I immediately got our drinks and left. That was that, until 2 weeks ago when I saw my husband's phone light up with a Facebook Messenger notification. I asked him who it was from, as he never uses Messenger. He said it was from an old friend. I asked who, and he said I wouldn't know. I became suspicious but wasn't necessarily worried because I just assumed it was a friend. Until a few days later, when he got another Facebook Messenger notification while I was ordering food off his phone. It was from Angela. I was shocked and confused. I went to their messages, and everything seemed friendly and casual, though because of their history, I felt very uncomfortable with them talking. I went up to him and confronted him about the texts and asked why she was texting him. He told me that after running into her, she friended him on Facebook and they began talking. He assured me it was all casual, but I still told him I didn't want him talking to her. He assured me he would stop. I told him to unfriend her, to which he hesitated but eventually did. There was no issue or word from Angela until last night, when, from my knowledge, she spam messaged my husband and even called him crying, telling him that her mother was sick. I guess he knew her mother and felt sympathy towards her. Angela vented to him about how she had no one and she just needed someone to comfort her. She asked my husband if he could come and be there for her, to which he said yes. I had no idea he was doing this until I saw him putting his shoes on near the door. I asked him where he was going, and he told me the story about Angela's mom and that she needed someone to be with her. I told him not to go, and we had a small argument. He was rushing out the door, so I blocked him and said that if he was going to go see and comfort his ex-girlfriend, he wasn't allowed back in. He scoffed and pushed past me. I watched as he left. I went back inside, poured a few drinks, and tried my hardest not to cry or blow up his phone. Eventually, 3 hours passed, and he came back home. I sat on the couch during this, and as he came in, I told him that he wasn't allowed to sleep here. He was shocked, and we got into another argument. To cut it short, he told me he had nowhere to go, so I told him that maybe he should go to Angela, as they seem to help each other a lot. He then left again, and I haven't heard anything from him. I'm currently staying up and have had a few drinks. I just need advice on how to handle this whole situation, as I'm barely able to process what to do. I'm sorry if this was long, I needed to vent. Adds an edit to their post. I eventually went to sleep and sent a text saying that I was sick and wasn't coming into work today. It's currently 2 p.m. where I live, and I've just been napping and kind of out of it. I haven't heard from him at all, and he hasn't come back home. I'm kind of worried, as I don't know where he's at. His location has been off since yesterday. I might send him a text later to make sure he's okay. I don't know if this is a good idea, as I'm not in the best mindset right now and have been in zombie mode. As of now, I'm trying to process what even happened, as it went by so fast. I'll keep you all updated if anything happens. Thank you all again. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Girl, he really pulled the she has no one else card like that's your problem? That's an X, not a charity case. The fact that he hesitated to unfriend her in the first place was already suspect, but running to her the second she calls? In the middle of the night? Nah, not the jerk, you just set a boundary, and he sprinted right past it like it was the finish line of a marathon. Stay strong, because he's acting real comfortable disrespecting you. Ops response. Thank you for your reassurance. I want to confide in some friends and family, but I feel like they'd make me feel invalidated. I do feel bad for the girl if her mother is sick, but I'm upset that my husband was willing to go. I don't know the full details of the situation with her, as my husband was rushing, so I don't know if she has friends or any other family, but I assume she does, so I don't understand why she went to my husband for comfort. Commenter 2. I just realized the age difference between your husband and Angela. He was dating a teenager while in his 30s. He's foul for that, and please do not have kids with this creep. Ops response. I honestly did not know much about this girl, I only knew he was dating her because he got tagged in an Instagram post of them together 5 years ago. I went on her account, and there was nothing about her age. I didn't fully stalk her, but I did enough to see that they were dating and to remember her face. Eventually, that's when the confrontation happened. I never asked about her, and I tried my hardest not to look at her account. I have self-esteem issues, and I didn't want to compare myself. It wasn't until around the time we were engaged that I decided to ask him about the whole Angela situation, and that's when I found out about her age. Supposedly, the way they met was that she went to his job and struck up a conversation with him. She asked to go on a date, lied to him, and said she worked at the company and was 23. They went on dates, and after 2 months she confessed her real age and that she didn't actually work there, she was 19 turning 20, and that she had actually found him by going on apps like LinkedIn to find guys with higher paying jobs. Commenter 3. You married a good man, but he was playing both of you at the beginning. Not a good start. I would normally say you are being controlling, but this is an ex, not just a female friend, so no. She should be talking to family or an ex who isn't married. Ops response. Thank you, and possibly, I haven't thought much about our past, as it's best not to think about things you can't go back and change, but I'm slowly processing that it might have been the case. I personally don't find myself too controlling. Some in the comments seem to think I am, but this was at night, and he was meeting her at her home. She's also an ex, not just an ex, but a girl he was with at the same time I was with him. Update 8 days later. Hi everyone, it's been 8 days since I posted my original post, and I finally have an update for you all. I'm sorry it took so long, but I've been sick. This is going to be long, so I apologize as I have to address a few things. I want to first say thank you to those who gave helpful and supportive comments, and to those who said I drove my husband straight into another woman's arms or that I was hostile and controlling. First, if my husband was willing to go to another woman when in an argument with his wife, then is he really my husband? I mean, I have some standards to not marry an awful person. Second, to those who said I was controlling and hostile towards Angela, if you have a partner and are okay with them doing something like this, then that's something within your boundaries, not mine. I don't like having contact with exes or having my husband be in contact with his exes. Finally, the age gap. I explained the story of how they met and such in a comment, but to sum it up, she had originally lied about her age. I didn't know her age or anything about her until I was engaged. Okay, onto what happened. He eventually came home later that day. I was watching TV on the couch when he walked in. We looked at each other and didn't say anything. He went to our room, took a shower, and fell asleep. I was still upset with him, so I avoided going to check up on him or even talk to him. I waited in the living room/kitchen until a few hours later when he woke up. I decided to make dinner. He came out, sat on the couch, and we ate in silence before he asked if I wanted to talk. I said I did, and he explained what happened. From what he told me, when we saw her at the boba shop, she had friended him on Facebook later that day. He didn't friend her back, though, and ignored it, and eventually, a few days later, she sent him a message request. This is when he handed me his phone to see the messages. To sum it up, she texted him a few times over a range of days without an answer, from pleasantries, updates about her life, and finally, a suicidal message. Now, I don't know what is allowed to be said in this subreddit, but my husband did respond out of worry for another person, or so he claimed. They talked a lot about her addictions, self-harm, and other very personal things relating to that. Through reading, I did find out she had a boyfriend and that he was actually 51 years old. My husband calmed her down, and they stopped talking for a few days. Then she reached out again, and the same thing happened. This repeated again, where he wouldn't respond until she guilted him into it. When I had found out and told him to block her, he actually didn't block her out of fear, but he didn't respond to her messages until that night. She actually sent very concerning messages beforehand and called him on Messenger. He answered, and he said that she was wailing and screaming in pain. Now, I don't want to say too much, but she had told him she attempted suicide by taking a bunch of pills because of her mother, which is why he rushed to her. When he got there, he told me she was acting strangely and almost pretending to have done what she did. He tried to get her to the hospital, to which she refused. After pleading for a while, he was getting ready to call 911 when she confessed she didn't actually take any pills. He was confused and asked why she said she did. She couldn't give him a clear answer. My husband was going to leave when she begged him to let her explain again. She said her mom is the only person who cares about her and that she needed somebody with her after she found out she was sick and that she had no one but my husband, and my husband wouldn't come otherwise if it wasn't urgent. My husband wasn't buying it, so he asked if her mom was even sick, to which she denied it but seemed to be lying. My husband then left. He told me he just stayed in his car for a while before coming back home, and that's when the confrontation happened. He said he was very tired and felt horrible, so he wasn't in the right headspace to explain right then and there. He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's but instead just stayed in his car, got food, and pretty much wandered around town until he got home later that day. After this, I felt very overwhelmed. I usually like to take time to myself to process things before making a decision or response, so I told him I needed time. I didn't interact with him until the next morning and told him I needed more time before talking to him again and was going to stay with my parents for a few days. And now we're here. A few days actually turned into a week because, as soon as I got here, I got sick. So I haven't felt good enough to even drive back home, much less process or think much. I secretly don't even know how or what to do, like, how do we just go back to normal? I still feel betrayed, and even though he didn't cheat, I don't trust him, and I don't even know if he's telling the truth. I mean, divorce is extreme for something so minor, but I don't know. I have to go back home tomorrow as I feel a bit better, and I can't hide out here forever. I have responsibilities, even though it's been a nice escape, and being with my family has been great. I haven't talked much to my husband except through texts, so tomorrow will be our first face-to-face conversation in a week. So that's the update. What actually reminded me to do this update was I got a random message request on Instagram a few hours ago from a burner account. It's a picture, and I'm kind of scared to open it. I know it's probably a scam thing, but something in my gut is telling me it's connected to Angela, and I don't know if I should open it. Op adds an edit to their post. So I opened the picture. It was a screenshot from what I assume is Angela's private story, of her in lingerie with a caption that says, "She'll just have to taste me when she's kissing him." Top/relevant comments. Commenter. He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's but instead just stayed in his car, got food, and pretty much wandered around town until he got home later that day. Yeah, so he did nothing with her but decided the best thing to do was make it look like he stayed over? Sure, Jan. If you buy that crock, I've got a big shiny orange bridge I can sell you. I would need a lot more proof somehow than his lame, "I stayed in my car instead of screwing my ex" excuse. Commenter 2. And made a beeline for the shower when he got home from sitting in his car and bumming around town? And disabled the tracking on his phone, because that's what normal people do when helping someone who's suicidal. Like, even if we believe he didn't sleep with Angela, which he definitely did, let's play out the scenario if we take him at his word. Firstly, he was dating 2 women at a time, one of whom was 19 while he was 33, and he claims she lied about her age, which, again, sure lol, and when the age-appropriate woman said she wouldn't date him if he was dating somebody else, he kept sleeping with the 19-year-old for 2 weeks before finally settling down with the age-appropriate woman. Then, after marrying the age-appropriate woman, he runs into the much younger woman, she initiates contact, he resists, and she claims she's suicidal. Instead of telling his wife about this scenario so that they can find out the best answer together, he stays in contact with her, and when his wife finds out about the contact, he lies and says it's just because her mother is sick, not telling her that the much younger woman is also threatening suicide. His wife, obviously stressed that he's cheating, tells him if he leaves not to come back, and he scoffs and leaves. Then, according to his story, he lets his wife cry at home thinking he's cheating, he turns off tracking on his phone, and goes to the suicidal young woman, suggests 911 or some other help, and when she denies having taken pills, he leaves her in a state without helping, and instead of going and explaining to his wife, he sits in his car and bums out for a bit. Even if we believe everything this guy has said, he's still a terrible husband and person. And nobody believes anything this guy has said. Second update 1 month 2 weeks later. Hi everyone, it's been a while, and I know an update has been overdue. I feel like I can finally give you guys one now. It's been a few weeks, and a lot of stressful things have happened, so I apologize for not updating sooner. I finally have a minute to update, and I'm going to try to summarize events, as a lot has happened, so I'm sorry if details seem to be missing. When I went back home, my husband wasn't there, he was at work. I contemplated a ton and was very nervous to confront him, as I dislike confrontation and what comes out of it. I was also sick and feeling weak, so I just decided to go to sleep and confront him the next morning. The next morning came, and we did talk. At first, it was awkward small talk over breakfast. He was being extra sweet, though, since he bought me coffee before I woke up, it was nice. I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it, so I just mentioned the picture. He was somehow offended and asked to see it. I showed him, and he said something like, "Oh, it's just song lyrics and means nothing." We went back and forth on this. I don't fully remember what was said, but ultimately, I just let it go. I went back to work the next day, and for the next few days, he and I would argue about Angela almost every day. The only times we didn't argue were when we would ignore each other, which was done 90% of the time. I know this was childish of us to do, but I was mad at him and just didn't feel ready to try and repair things. Getting a divorce or separating also felt extreme at the time, as I had no evidence of him cheating, and it was just a theory. Work was honestly like an escape, as I had my friends/co-workers there and was able to just be away. For reference, I worked at a small independently owned office as a receptionist. I've worked there for 5 years, and it was my favorite job. Our boss was great, the pay was good, I had friends there, and the benefits were amazing. Despite occasionally being yelled at over the phone, it was honestly the best job I've ever worked at. Then, randomly at work, we started to get prank calls. It's not totally unusual, but these ones would happen every day. It would usually be someone just screaming and then hanging up. We were instructed to wait for the other person to speak first during this. After a few days, these prank calls did stop, but we kept getting calls from different people asking to talk to our boss, which was odd because rarely would we get this request. This happened multiple times a day for a few days. My boss usually sends these calls to voicemail as he's busy. A few days later, I'm about to leave when he asks if I can stay for a bit and talk to him in his office. I did, and this is where he showed me the voicemails and asked if I knew these people. They were all complaints about me. I didn't recognize any of the voices, so I said no. My boss assumed these weren't real but tried to find out who these people might be. Because of this, when someone would call and ask to talk to our boss, we had to ask for a phone number and name. Some would provide it, some wouldn't. Eventually, this would happen every single hour, and again, all complaints about me. My boss decided to just send me home for a few days to see if the calls would end, which they didn't. A few days turned into a week, and then I got a call and was fired. From what my co-workers told me, the calls continued, and my boss was just sick of it, as he would have to call back each time, and decided it was just easier to fire me. I suspect this was Angela and her friends doing this to try to get me fired, and they succeeded. During the week I was home, it was driving me crazy, as sometimes I would have to be home with my husband, and all I wanted to do was argue. Though no issues until I caught him stalking Angela's Instagram. He would sleep on the couch, and I would sleep in the room. I caught him when I saw him on his phone from the hallway. I honestly was just tired from it all, so I did blow up at him. His excuse was he just wanted to check up on her. When I told him I was fired and that I suspected it was Angela, he basically called me crazy and said she would never do anything like that. I was so drained that I didn't even argue. In fact, I didn't even talk to him anymore, which is probably why he felt it was okay to come home late one night, drunk with faded lipstick on and glitter. We had another argument, and he left. He didn't come back for days and sent flowers and my favorite food to me with a note that said, "I'm sorry, I love you." He came home later that day, and he looked pretty distraught and wanted to explain. I let him. His reasoning was that he felt awful about how our relationship was and needed to de-stress from it. He went out with a few friends for drinks, and some girl kissed him and was dancing up on him. He said he rejected her immediately and felt disgusted. I don't know if I believe that still. I asked about Angela and if he was still talking to her, to which he said no, but she did reach out a few times, and he did see her once. I asked if they ever slept with each other, and he said no, but she kissed him, and he rejected her. I asked a whole bunch of other questions about our relationship, and some of the answers did hurt. I told him I wanted to separate just for a little bit. He broke down crying and begged me not to leave him. I apologized and packed most of my things as he was on his knees next to me apologizing. I ignored him and left. For the last 2 weeks, I've been at my parents' house. I finally told them what happened, and they despise him. He's been up here almost daily trying to talk to me, and my parents refuse to let him see me. My parents live in the next town over. He sent me food, flowers, gift cards, literally anything you can DoorDash, he's sent. I've gotten spam calls and messages from him, and I've blocked him. Yet he's gotten his family and some of my distant relatives to do the same. Honestly, I'm tired of him and have begged him to stop trying to contact me. Obviously, it hasn't worked much. For my next moves, I'm thinking of divorce, but I'm just not ready yet. None of this feels real. I just need to take time and heal a little before making that decision. I have a feeling divorce is going to be hard, so I just can't handle that yet. Another option is therapy and trying to reconcile. I'm currently trying to find a job in my parents' town, and I plan to stay here for a while until I'm able to move on fully. Also, I know I didn't talk about her much, but as for Angela, I have no idea if he's talking to her still or anything about her, and I want to keep it that way. I don't think there is going to be another update since our relationship is pretty much over. Thank you to those who checked up on me and commented advice. I'm forever grateful. /relevant comments. Commenter. You're better off without him and his crazy ex-girlfriend, Op. Ask your boss if you can get a list of the numbers that called in and left messages about you. You'll likely be able to trace them back to Angela. Explain to him that you were being stalked. You may have a case for wrongful termination, and I highly suggest you talk to a lawyer and file a police report about what she did. Commenter 2. With all this drama and mental anguish, and if you don't have kids, divorce sounds like the best thing for you. The trust is broken and will truly never return. Commenter 3. Sorry you're going through this, up. I hate to be the one to say it, but he definitely cheated. I 100% don't believe for a second that he pushed Angela away as she kissed him, or that it was only a kiss, and not Angela, that kissed him while he was gone. He is giving you a little bit of information, hoping it will be enough and you won't dig for more. He should have cut off contact and not seen her again at all after all of this. I hope you do leave him, and I hope you get a new job that you love. You might need to get a restraining order on your husband to get him to leave you alone.
Story 7.
I found out my best friend has been lying to me for over 7 years and actually despises my marriage to my husband, and he wishes it could have been him. Posted by u/Songbird Spectrum. I'm struggling with figuring out how to start this, so I guess I'll just start with context. Obligatory apology for mobile and long post. I'll try to keep it semi-brief, but there's a lot. I, 28F, have been friends with Blake, 28M, for about 10 years now. We met when I was traveling for a new job out of state, and I kid you not, we immediately became best friends in the week that I was there. Same interests, great energy and conversation, we just clicked. We were friends for nearly 2 years before trying the dating thing. It lasted 3 months, important, during which Blake did not treat me well due to unresolved issues from prior relationships. Before I could end it, he decided to end it himself, as he had feelings for someone else. Fine with me, we were clearly better as friends. I took some space because he hadn't been treating me well. He got into therapy and apologized for being crappy, and was willing to put in the work to regain my trust for our friendship, which he did, consistently, over the 8 years since. Fast forward to now, I'm now happily married to my wonderful husband Cam, 28M, together for 6 years, married for 2 years. Blake and I are still best friends. He and his ex, after our brief dating stint, broke up, and he is now with a wonderful woman, Kaylee, 21F, for almost 2 years now, started dating a few months before my wedding. This is important. Kaylee and I are also good friends, she's the sweetest person. Blake also lives in the same city as me now, after his mother passed, having moved down here for a better support network. His girlfriend moved in about 9 months ago. In the past 6 months or so, things have been strained with Blake. My husband is very introverted, and Blake started voicing frustration about his inability to be closer friends with Cam and feeling like he bothers Cam. He and I also started having weird tiffs, kind of subtle negs/belittling comments, etc. Then my husband and I came over to a game night for Blake's birthday 3 months ago, during which Blake picked fights with me about very weird things, for example, my career path and how I'm going about it wrong, making comments like "I guess if you want to stunt yourself in life, you can do it that way," etc. Both Cam and I were caught very off guard, and after several attempts to shut it down, we made excuses and headed home. Later, Blake proceeded to send me a text asking if I was okay because the vibes felt off. To which I was like, no kidding, and explained my issue. He decided to reply with an email, 8 long paragraphs about how he felt he and his experience/knowledge were dismissed in our discussion, how he felt ganged up on when Cam would defend my side, and how he felt like he can't be himself around me and Cam anymore. He also made comments voicing that he didn't feel like he could trust me because I tell Cam everything. Not true, I always ask before sharing unless it's a danger or moral issue, and that he thinks I'm unhealthily codependent on Cam because whenever Blake and I hang out one-on-one, I'm always calling to let Cam know how late I'll be out or to check if I'm cool to pick up takeout. We're married with joint finances. I replied trying to clarify my end as well as understand where the ever-loving hell this all was coming from, but no matter how many times I tried, we kept going in circles. The emailing back and forth, during which he demanded we not meet up until this was resolved, lasted until about 2 weeks ago, when I said I needed time to think about how to reply next. About a month ago, I got into therapy because it was seriously messing with my head and making me feel like I was the problem and like I couldn't talk to anyone about this because we share much of our support system. I finally broke down to my sister when she came over to see why I hadn't been answering her, or really anyone, hella anxiety issues, lately. She is also friends with Blake through me. I let her read the emails, and she got pretty ticked on my behalf, and then proceeded to drop a hell of a bombshell on me and Cam. Blake is apparently still in love with me and hates Cam's guts. Apparently, when she drove to pick up Blake out of state for our wedding, he was a groomsman. He confided in her and her husband that he didn't agree with the wedding and wished I would break up with Cam and give him another chance. That we're soulmates and Cam isn't the one for me. Blake has heard me talk since day one about how happy Cam makes me and how safe and loved I feel with him. My sister shut it down, but, even better, Blake proceeded to do the same thing when she drove him back home after our wedding. He ended off saying he just needed some time, so my sister kept her mouth shut because she knew that he's my best friend and hoped she could trust him to resolve it over time since he lived far away. Blake then moved near me about a year ago, and Kaylee moved in the August after. My husband's and my wedding anniversary is in October, and apparently Blake called my sister's husband to, again, confide that he's still in love with me and wishes I would divorce Cam because he would be a better husband to me, while living with Kaylee, who he's told me is his soulmate. This was about when all the stress started, so she never found a good moment to bring it up. As if to ice the cake, Kaylee and I have been keeping up via text through all this. Again, we're friends. During the past few weeks, I've learned some odd things. Kaylee got new piercings, reportedly encouraged by Blake to do so because she'd look so cute, a double nose piercing and septum, which, possibly coincidentally, Blake took me to get as a post-wedding gift 2 years ago. Blake apparently has beef with the month of August and has decided their anniversary will be in October. The reason he gave was because it's spooky month, but Cam and I started dating and got married that month. I also, at my sister's prompt, went back and checked when Blake and I broke up, August 2017. Again, possibly coincidental, but it feels very odd as I don't know why else he would have an issue with that month. It's also worth noting Blake had another relationship fall apart because the girl was outright convinced Blake was cheating on her with me to the point of blasting me for weeks as some homewrecker. Cam and I always chalked it up to her insecurity, but now I'm wondering if she was just watching Blake carry on some weird, one-sided emotional affair. I love my husband more than words can say, and he makes me happier than anyone I've ever met. He's my ultimate best friend. Learning all this has made me feel so gross and like a horrible wife, though Cam has been wonderfully supportive and doesn't blame me at all. All this to say, I'm ending our friendship, but have no clue how. I feel like I have to tell Kaylee, as this has all happened during their relationship and while living together, and the woman deserves the world. But I also recognize I have no real proof beyond spoken accounts besides the weird emails. It sounds like some wild conspiracy theory or soap opera. My therapist is on vacation, so I'm on my own after learning all this. I'm also realizing just how manipulative Blake has been for years given this context, and already feel shaky about confronting him given my serious confrontation anxiety, which he knows about and could easily try to exploit. I'm realizing more and more that he has massive control issues that I dismissed as anxiety for years. The fact that he lives so close now fills me with dread rather than joy. I want to come out of this with no regrets, knowing I stood up for myself and that I put a decisive end to this. I want Blake to know his actions and creepy ulterior motives are the reason our decade-long friendship is dead. I've never ended a friendship myself, also a bit of an introvert, and this is basically a friend breakup on steroids. How do I break this lunacy to Kaylee in a way that sounds remotely believable given the front Blake has built? I also would love some advice on how to go about telling Blake I know everything and we're absolutely done. /relevant comments. Additional info from Op. So, I'm working right now and not replying to other comments until later due to time constraints, but I thought some clarifications might help given this comment. 1. There is no sexual past. Blake and I did not sleep together. Again, this was only a 3-month relationship. Not everyone hooks up. The most we ever did was kiss a few times upon visiting due to long distance, and again, this was 8 years ago. 2. This isn't the only friend I've briefly dated that I'm still in touch with. Hell, Cam actually does have a close friend that he also dated back when he was in college for about 6 months as well. She and I are really close, and Cam and I are godparents to her child. Genuinely, both of us are very secure in our relationship and don't take issue with it. We're also both into all genders, so opposite gender doesn't really mean much to us in terms of friendships. It's all just people. 3. My sister and I are in talks over this. I didn't feel it was relevant to include in the post, but I will here. I let her know how upset I was over her keeping this from me, and she broke down apologizing for it and recognizes she messed up. She also has severe anxiety and thought it had resolved until the second time Blake reached out to her husband, during which time she was going through a lot personally. She was intending to tell me the next time we spoke, around the time I fell off communicating from the stress of it all. We're working through this separately. As for your summary, having gotten a restraining order on a different ex, I know it's not very easy to get one. I will definitely do so if I have to, but jumping straight to that doesn't seem feasible. The cop scare tactic is definitely not a bad idea to keep in my pocket, though, thank you. As for your frankly polarizing view on myself and my marriage, I didn't come here to ask for advice or opinions on my marriage. My husband has been amazing and very adamant that I know he is mad at Blake for being a creepy, lying jerk, not at me. He knows full well that I have eyes only for him and has never once doubted that, before or after all this. You can think whatever you want of me or my marriage, but I did want to throw that out there. The feeling like a terrible wife I mentioned is because I feel like I've been blind this whole time, especially as I fully acknowledge how cliché this all sounds. Whether that's true or not, I know my marriage is solid and secure, and I in no way spat in anyone's face. Update 1 day later. Well, I was definitely not expecting to be making an update/follow-up post when I made my original post. Admittedly, my original post blew up far more than I ever anticipated. I've made many posts on various accounts and subreddits over the years, including this one, and typically I get a handful of kind-hearted Redditors' input before it dies into obscurity lol, so this was definitely new to me. I'm endlessly thankful for all the wonderful people who offered comments of care, support, and advice. Some of the comments were so invaluable, and I can't thank you all enough. I did decide to delete the original post, largely to protect my peace, as it was surprisingly anxiety-inducing to have 500,000 views on one of the most surreal moments of my life, and partially as protection, as there were many specific details that could easily be identified if seen by someone who knows the details IRL. Now that that's aside, the update, I decided to talk to Kaylee after all. I asked to meet up and treated her to coffee and pastries, and then disclosed everything I knew. She listened, even reaching over to hold my hand when she saw me shaking, and thanked me for telling her. In short, she has decided to stay with Blake for now, but is moving forward with this in mind, as is her right to decide. She wants to stay friends with me and fully understands that I want nothing to do with Blake and why, as well as not to share any info about me with him, and that there will be some distance for a bit. This is where you all might yell at me, but I did confront Blake in person. This was mostly due to the fact that I wanted to get it out of the way right after talking to Kaylee without raising alarm bells, and meeting up under the guise of talking it out in person was the easiest way to do that. My husband went with me, though the conversation was just between Blake and myself. I took several safety precautions as well, such as secretly recording the interaction. Initially, Blake started in on classic Darvo, saying he didn't remember saying those things to my sister, etc., and then remembered certain things but in different contexts. He even tried spinning it back on me several times. I shut all that down, as well as any excuses or justifications given, and firmly landed my point that regardless of intent or reasoning, his actions are wildly inappropriate and inexcusable. After dismantling enough of the excuses, he actually offered several apologies owning up to his actions. Whether he meant them or not, I don't know nor care, but it was semi-cathartic for sure. He insists everything with Kaylee is coincidental, but either way, that is between them at this point. The conversation ended with him saying he didn't want to lose our friendship. That he was willing to take a friendship break for a bit, establish better/firmer boundaries. That he feels he's in a better place to be more honest. That now, he was aware of the issue and would pay more care in not breaking my boundaries. I shut him down, saying that ship sailed long ago, and it shouldn't have to take me saying I'm done for him to put effort into respecting me. He then said he'd respect my decision to end our friendship but begged me to at least keep an open mind about possible future reconciliation. I was pretty much done at this point and told him flat out that these are the consequences of his own actions, that I can never trust anything he says or does ever again, and that even if in some alternate universe I was open to that, he would be an acquaintance, and certainly would never, ever be my best or even close friend again. He went quiet and teary-eyed after this, I assume because he knew things were coming to a close. I stood up, he asked me for one last hug. I said no, reached out to shake his hand, and left without looking back. Which felt kind of badass, until I got down the block and around the corner and had the panic attack that had been looming all day lol. Win some, lose some. Overall though, I think this went as well as it could have. I'm not letting my guard down yet, just in case, but it's a relief that it's finally, seemingly, resolved. Admittedly, I'm not doing great, but I know I will be okay. Cam helped me realize I'm basically mourning the death of a decade-long friend, while Blake himself may not be dead, the Blake I knew is, so I'm trying to give myself some grace in processing through this. Cam has decided tonight is reserved for tacos, cake, and video games together for some dopamine, and we're both calling into work tomorrow after this chaos. Thank you again to all those who offered kindness and support on my last post. I don't think I would have had nearly the confidence and composure I had today if not for you all. May your pillow always be nice and cold, your food the perfect temperature, and your life full of joy and peace. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Block him and don't look back. Ops response. I very much did. The funniest thing is, I was almost starting to feel a little bad afterward. He verbally acknowledged and took accountability for much of what happened by the end of the conversation, and while I wasn't regretting my decision, I was feeling a bit guilty for going scorched earth that fast and wondered if things could have improved had I not. Until I got an email this morning because the jerk made a whole new email account to reach out to me from, since he figured I blocked him but he had some things to say. I opened it out of curiosity, and it's, I kid you not, 12 paragraphs about his side of the story, during which he tried to explain/Darvo/gaslight it all away, said things he already admitted to and apologized for never happened, that he was never in love with me in the first place so he wouldn't say that, etc. Everything directly contradicts every apology or admission of guilt during our recorded, conversation, so I know damn well he's not actually sorry or remotely grown from that confrontation. Really reinforced my decision for me. Commenter 2. Do not be surprised if he starts to stalk you and or reaches out to friends about how worried he is about your 1, mental health or 2, Cam's treatment of you. Ops response. I'm not as worried about these, at least the latter, when it comes to reaching out to my friends. My friends know full well that our relationship is healthy as hell. Even my therapist has commented that it's one of the healthiest relationships she's ever seen, which is a nice little brag, not gonna lie, considering the crap I've been through in life, and I genuinely think they'd reach out to me before putting any stock in anything he could come up with. We're kind of the parent friends of our social circle, no kids, we just tend to love and care for our people, especially when they're in need. But regardless, I'm prepared if it does come to that. Especially after that email, I'm in the FAFO stage. Commenter 3. Kaylee, baby, what the hell are you doing? Commenter 4. If this post is real, she's probably housing insecure and staying with an older jerk until she can get a more stable living situation. Hopefully, she actually has an exit strategy, too, because the type of things that go on in someone's life to make them start dating a nearly 30-year-old when they're a teen, and then move in with them before they can legally drink or smoke, usually indicate that they feel like the home they left behind, if it exists, was worse. Sometimes they feel that way because home was worse, sometimes they're misunderstood, sometimes it's something like addiction that pulls people away, or enough mental and emotional abuse that they feel like nobody else will love them and they're incapable of success or happiness without some craphead hanging around. But nobody stays in a situation like that if they have other options and are in a good place psychologically and financially.
Story 8.
I'm 16, and I just overheard my mom making secret plans to have me married off on our next trip to visit relatives in Pakistan. Posted by you/Wheelted Wallflower. I was studying for my math test and listening to music while I studied. My mom was on the phone talking to a relative in Pakistan about a wedding, and I took my earbuds out and started eavesdropping. I wanted to know what was going on, and my mom said, I don't know what Wheelted Wallflower should wear to her wedding. WTF. After she ended the call, she told me and my stepsister that we were going to Pakistan to visit relatives. I faked interest and pretended to be excited so she wouldn't get suspicious, but I am effing shocked, and I don't know what to do. I went on travel.gc and also Googled a list of Canadian/French consulates and embassies in Pakistan. I'm afraid my mom or my relatives will take away my passport and never let me return to Canada. Then I'll be trapped in that crap-hole country with some stranger who will probably abuse me daily. My mom has talked about marrying me off to a guy because my grades are bad and because I don't behave. I haven't been to Pakistan since I was 6, and I would never, ever go back. I am ex-Muslim, and I hate all of my mom's relatives in Pakistan. I remember when I failed a chemistry test and my mom said, your cousin got grades like yours, and that's why she was married off. Another time, before I wrote my final exams, she said, I'll find you a doctor husband because girls don't work. I'm so scared, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to leave Canada. I know that we have to go to Paris, France first, and I am going to make a run for it when we land. I have dual citizenship with France, and my biological father lives in Paris. I haven't even called my dad and told him what's going on because I'm going to break down in tears, and my snitchy stepsister will tell my mom and stepdad on me. On TV and YouTube, I've seen so many documentaries about Desi girls and forced marriages, I never knew that I was going to be one of those girls. Should I call the police before I leave? Or should I ask to go to the bathroom and run away? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Where in Canada are you located? Edit to add, if you are anywhere in Ontario, or willing to travel, I can give you a safe place to stay. I even drive. I'm not sure when your departure date is, but do not go. Pack as if you're happy you're traveling and run away. When you're far away from your mother and sister, then you call your father. See what he says. If there is any indication he is on your mom's side, do not go. If he is willing to take you in, you should go see him alone. Do not tell your mom your travel plans. Ops response. I am not in Ontario. I called my father, my mom and stepsister don't speak French, so they didn't understand. My dad is a white French man, and he is not on my mom's side. Update 1 day later. First of all, I can't thank you all enough for this advice and support. I'd send you all muffin baskets if I could. It's the day after I found out about this forced marriage. It wasn't arranged, because I haven't given my consent, and there's no way in hell I want to marry some old dude at 16. A lot has happened in the past 24 hours. I have called my dad, boyfriend, family members, and trusted friends. My best friend has given me a pocket GPS, and she said she will track my location and notify the police if I end up in Pakistan, but I have notified the authorities. My dad was furious when I told him that my mom arranged a marriage for me. My boyfriend's parents said they would help me if my mom drains my bank account, or if I'm taken to Pakistan, they would go there and take me out of Pakistan. I have printed off copies of my IDs and recent pictures. I have given them to my friends and family. I also told my principal. I started taking cash out of my bank account so my mom can't drain it. But I don't want it to look suspicious, so I'm going to take it out in medium amounts and then hide the money in my safe. My dad said he would help me open a bank account in France, but I'm sure you have to be over 18. I hid my French passport and other IDs in my safe. Another thing I've done is pack my belongings, like my clothes, albums, school transcripts, electronics, books, etc., in boxes and ship them to my dad's address. I don't know what I'll do with the cash. I have less than $10,000, so I won't face a fine at customs, but I'll have to declare it. My mom has also told me she doesn't care where I go or what happens to me. I hid at my friend's house for a week once after she slapped me for getting a 12 out of 15 on a math test when I was in grade 7, and she didn't call once or anything. I'm lucky that my friends let me stay with them. When my mom comes home, I'm going to tell her that I want to live with my dad. I don't know what her reaction will be, but I doubt she'll care. She cares more about my stepdad and his kid from a previous marriage. If my mom and stepdad agree, I can have freedom, no more Islam or abuse at home. If they agree, I'm going to call my dad and tell him to buy the plane ticket so I can leave Canada and live in France. I won't have a problem with immigration or anything because I have a French passport, and I mentioned that in the previous post. I know my dad can convince my mom to give up her parental rights and let him have sole custody. I'm sure my mom will lose her parental rights because of emotional, physical, and mental abuse, and this forced marriage is going to bring her down, lol. I also have screenshots of my mom's text messages about this marriage. I even have a voice recording as evidence. I'm going to confront my mom and stepdad and tell them that I'm going to live with my biological dad tonight. I'll update you all on what happens after. Top/relevant comments. Additional info from Up. Hey guys, about my dad, I actually grew up with a father for 13 years when I lived in France. I know my dad, and I still see him 3 to 4 times a year, even though my mom remarried and we moved to Canada. Op adds an edit to their post. My mom and stepdad came home. I was going to do this confrontation alone and not have anyone there. As my parents sat down and asked me why I wanted to talk to them, I got nervous and started to panic. I was going to change the subject and say something like, "Can I paint my walls purple?" But then it hit me, I had to toughen up and tell them that I wanted to live with my dad and not with them. If I didn't tell them, I would have been married off and had my life ruined. I was too scared to even call my neighbor or my friend's mom for security. I made my mom and stepdad sit down at the dinner table. I told them that I wanted to move to France and live with my dad. They started telling me that France was unsafe, that I was going to get shot. Then I told my mom that she always wanted me to die, lol. My stepdad said that Paris is dangerous, and I told him about East Vancouver, Surrey, Detroit, Compton, North Edmonton, etc. There was a lot of yelling, but I told them that if they hated me so much, they should just give up their parental rights and let my biological father deal with me. There was a moment of silence. My stepdad decided to leave because he thought I was being crazy. My mom called me a disgrace to the family, and I said in a very beachy tone, "Why don't you effing return me to dad? Unlike you, he actually cares about me, you effing deplorable." My mom sighed and calmly replied, "If that's what you want, I'll go make the arrangements. But you are making a huge mistake, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." The confrontation wasn't as violent as I thought it would be. I had a pocket knife for self-defense because my parents have hit me before. It only lasted about 15 minutes. I'm a bit sad because I thought my mom would try to negotiate with me, or ask me what she did that made me want to live with my dad, who lives in another effing country. It's not like my dad lives in a house across the street, or in the same city, he lives in another country. And the fact that I have to move to another country for my safety, sanity, freedom, and well-being sounds effing crazy. Instead, she decided to terminate her parental rights and give me back to my dad. She just threw me away. She never tried to fix our relationship. Most moms would fight, beg, and plead with their last dying breath for their kids to stay. When I think about it, I am better off living with my dad. He actually cares and worries about my well-being. I don't even think I should be sad. I mean, I got what I wanted. I also realize that I'm so fortunate to have all these friends and family members who actually care, and I have these nice strangers online who also gave me good advice. I am better off than most girls in my situation. I mean, I can run off to France and be safe there because I have a caring dad, unlike most girls in my situation. The only thing left in my room is my furniture. I packed my remaining belongings into a suitcase and went to my friend's house. I've already cleared my closet and drawers. I put everything into a box and shipped it to my dad's address. I've added a timeline of events. Timeline of events. 5 o'clock to 5:15 p.m. My parents came home. I confronted them. 5:20 to 5:40 p.m. I ran faster than Usain Bolt to my room, opened my safe, and shoved my money, debit cards, passport, IDs, and my emergency clothes and toiletries into a carry-on suitcase. I texted my friend and asked her if I could stay with her, and she said yes. 5:50 p.m. My friend came to pick me up, and we drove to her house. When I got to her house, her mom bought us 2 plane tickets to Vancouver. My friend is 18, and she could go as my guardian because I'm 16. The flight is 1 hour 35 minutes. The next flight is to Paris, and I'll be there at 8:35 a.m. 6:45 p.m. I called my mom and told her my friend and I were going to Halifax. I didn't want her to chase me to Vancouver. Then she said, "Have fun with that. I'll be on the plane, but I'll keep journaling and make more updates. Thank you all so much." Second update 10 hours later. My friend and I jumped on the next flight to Vancouver. Right now, my friend and I are just waiting for our flight to Paris. My dad will pick me up at CDG Airport, and my friend will stay in Paris with me for emotional support. I felt bad because my friend had to come with me and abandon her normal routine, but she told me it was okay because she wanted to travel. She told me that she had saved up money to travel but hadn't bought a ticket, so I guess I helped her jumpstart her goal to travel around Europe. Our flight to Vancouver was 1 hour and 35-ish minutes. I don't live far from BC, lol. Our flight to Paris leaves the next day, so we decided to check into a hotel for the night. I was scared when the plane took off. I'm not afraid of flying. I was afraid that my mom was going to call the police or try to track my location, and that this would become a missing persons case. My friend reassured me that my mom was a crappy parent and that I was so close to freedom. A couple of minutes after the plane took off and I started thinking about my new life in France, I stopped thinking about my awful family and started thinking about how in 1 to 2 days I would see my dad and I'd be free at last. I'll be sitting in a French cafe reading a book or strolling down the Champs-Élysées. I was going back to the City of Lights after 3 years of darkness. The only problem I had was my French spelling and learning how to make friends in France. Another minor issue would be getting used to a new time zone and jet lag. I'm also going to miss my friends in Canada. They helped me a lot. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be waiting for a flight to Paris. I'm also thankful for all the advice I got on Reddit. I finally got the courage to call my dad and read every post. When I was 14, I wondered what would happen if I went to France and never returned. I was too scared to stay or even tell my mom and stepdad that I wanted to leave and go live with my dad. I never knew that 2 years later I would be moving back to France. I thought that I would have to wait until my 18th birthday to leave. I even got a part-time job to save up for a plane ticket and to move out when I turned 18. After my mom told me that she would make arrangements last night, I saw it as my last chance to escape before something bad happened. I don't know what they're capable of. I could have been killed, kidnapped, etc. Who knows? By the way, I speak fluent French. I need to work on my spelling because it's awful, lol. My mom is terminating her parental rights. My dad will get sole custody of me, and my mom won't have access to me. I'm not sure how this parental rights termination will work, but I know my mom is giving my dad sole custody. I took all of my IDs and documents from my mom's house. As soon as I heard her talking about my marriage, I rummaged through her room and found a large file folder with my documents in it. To make it less suspicious, I shoved paper in the folder. My mom has a bunch of envelopes full of childhood pictures. I took them all out and placed sticky notes and cards into the envelopes. It may be illegal, but it's petty compared to forcing a 16-year-old into marrying a 40-year-old. I can still complete high school this year and get my diploma. My bank account has been cleared. There's only $45.79 in there now. I have read my mom's text messages. She was talking to my aunt about how she arranged a marriage for me. I took a picture of those messages with my phone, printed them off as evidence, and sent them to my dad. Also, if you're ex-Muslim and your family is like mine, tell someone. Tell your doctor, teachers, construction worker, employer, mailman, friends, neighbors, etc. I'm not being biased, but it's best not to tell anyone who is close to your parents. I never told anyone who was Desi and Muslim because my mom has beachy friends with snitchy kids who are Desi and Muslim. It's better to tell people who are non-Muslim. I told my friend in French class last year about what goes on at home. He said he was so sorry and that he was there for me. People actually care. Please tell someone. Overall, thank you all so much for the support and the nice comments. I'll get back to making another update in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be in France in about 9 hours after I board the plane, then I can start my new life. Au revoir. /relevant comments. Commenter. Sounds like good news. Nobody is trying to stalk and kill you, and you're free of forced marriage problems. If you had not been eavesdropping on your mother, how likely do you think it is that you could have actually ended up in Pakistan in a forced marriage? It sounds like you may have gotten kind of lucky that you learned of her plans before you got duped into getting on a plane. I guess the moral of the story is, anyone who thinks they have a parent or parents who might try to dupe them into a trip to some place for a forced marriage probably needs to be nosy about what they're up to. Ops response. I am very lucky that I have caring friends and a dad who knows my mom is crazy. Before I travel, I let my friends know where I am and when I'll be back. If I don't show up for a while, my friends will know something's not right and they would call the authorities. Also, I'm quite sneaky. I never trusted anyone in Pakistan, and I would have hidden my passport, cell phone, and the numbers to the French/Canadian embassy. Third update 1 month 2 weeks later. So, it's been a while since I've made an update here. I am now in France, away from my psychotic, narcissistic mom and stepdad. The friend who came with me has gone to Greece. I've been getting used to France again, permanently. Before, I used to visit my dad for a week or two and I'd just be a tourist, but now I actually live here again, and luckily I don't have Paris syndrome. I can also still finish high school here, get my diploma, and go to university, but I want to take a gap year. I'm not sure if I want to stay in France for university. Also, my mom's parenting rights have been terminated, and she doesn't have custody of me anymore. I'm glad I'll never have to see my crappy mom and stepdad ever again. I'm glad my dad isn't Muslim. He saved me from being trapped in an Islamic craphole country and being abused by some 40-year-old that my mom wanted to marry me off to. When the plane landed in Paris, I finally felt free and safe. I wasn't in another country away from my mom and crappy stepdad. It's funny how some of my classmates think that I'm on vacation because my friend posted a picture of her and me when we went to the Eiffel Tower. Only 2 of my friends know what really happened, but I know they wouldn't tell anyone. My first month here has been very weird. My friend wanted to go sightseeing and I don't blame her. It was fun showing her around Paris, but I knew that I wasn't a tourist anymore and that I now live in France permanently. Overall, I've made friends and I'm still in contact with some of my childhood friends. So yeah, I didn't have that much culture shock or trouble adjusting. I've been studying French, but my dad said that my French is fine. My dad is mad at my mom for arranging a marriage. He told me I was a human being and not a commodity to be sold to the highest bidder. Then he said my mom was a deplorable and disgusting woman for ring me out and planning to leave me in a country where I have no contacts and don't speak the language. I am much happier now because I'm an only child and I don't have an annoying stepsister snitching on me to my parents or going through my bedroom. Overall, my life is better now because my mom is out of it, and I want it to stay that way. My dad got my mom's parenting rights terminated, and I think it's amazing because now she can't hurt me anymore. I'm not sure what I will study in university, but I also want to do something to help other girls in my situation. I think I want to write a book one day about what happened to me, but I have to use a pen name. I feel so relieved that I don't live with my mom anymore. I have less acne and I lost weight because I don't have to hide my double life from her anymore. My dad and I went through my childhood pictures and we cut my mom out of them. Some karma and legal justice. My dad doesn't have to send child support to her anymore, and now my mom and stepdad can't spend money each month on useless stuff. Now they're screwed. I'm just really happy that I have a white, non-Muslim dad who doesn't care if I hang out with my friends or if I fail one small, meaningless test. I can actually be a teenager now. Also, I don't have to go back to Pakistan ever again, which is great. I'm glad I found this subreddit. You guys helped me a lot. Thank you so much.